Our world is certainly turned into a dark circus, to say the least. There's a lot of different ways we could explain it, but things are really going crazy. Especially for people, even like myself, who spend all their time focusing on this and creating content and doing shows about it. It's so hard to keep up. There's so much coming in. Tonight, I'm really looking forward to speaking with my friend Jeff C. Jeff's been on the show quite a few times. We've been friends for many years. I'm waiting on him to come in right now. We had some technical problems for a second. Oh, there we go. I can hear you, Jeff. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, loud and clear, man. Okay, we're good. I was just doing a little introduction, saying hi to everybody. But as you all know, I always enjoy speaking with Jeff. We've been doing it more here lately, and I think we need to do it even more just to keep up with the massive amounts of events that are taking place all around the world. There's a really crazy one I've been tracking, and I'm going to ask Jeff about it here in a second. In fact, we'll get to that in just a moment about the Beirut boom, if you will. But enough about me. Let's say hi to Jeff real quick. Jeff, how you doing, man? Thank you for being here. Oh, wait a second. Looks like I lost him again. Ratro. Okay, Jeff, I lost you again, man. So it says your device isn't connected. So he'll try to get back in here in a second. These YouTube shenanigans. I'm doing an update tomorrow for you guys about, okay, he's changing his mic. I'm doing an update tomorrow for you guys about what's going to happen to KJ's What Happened. I can't do it on YouTube anymore, obviously. Just over the last couple months, they've yanked it while I was live. So I found an option, and I'll explain all that later. I've even got a Discord that I finally made, and I'll release that officially here in a few days. It's an awesome community chat site that I don't even have to be on for you guys to be there. You could just be there all the time, chatting about whatever you want, day or night. It's a really cool setup. So I'll launch that, like I said, officially here shortly. And we're still waiting on Jeff to come in. I guess a couple more updates I can give you just about the channel. My movie, as I posted here on the site, my movie won an award, which was really cool in India. And since then, it's been placed in 2 more tournaments in different parts of the world outside of America. So not tournaments, 2 more festivals. Did I say they were entered in 2 more tournaments? 2 more festivals. So I'll let you know how that goes. I'm just excited that people around the world are getting a chance to see it. And hopefully it'll open up their eyes, which was the intention of the movie in the first place. So I'll keep you guys updated on that as well. And I think that's about it, mostly for my updates. So hopefully we'll get Jeff back in here in just a little bit. Until then, let me jump over here to the comments section, the chat, and just say hi to everybody. Thank you for being here. Somebody said, I'm reading about, what do you guys think about Discord? Do you think that'd be cool for you guys? It'd be just a full-on, it's a really cool site, and it's all chat all the time. And like I said, I'll jump in there. We'll do special shows. I'll jump in maybe throughout the week, and we'll do things there. But that's going to be a good chat room for you guys. And it's also going to wind up having to be kind of the chat room for KJ's What Happened, probably for the very beginning of it. Like I said, I'll get more into that later. Good. I see people like Discord. That's awesome. Hey guys, good to see everybody. Got a lot of people coming in. A great crowd. Awoken Few says, "What's the name of the movie?" My movie's called The Scariest Movie Ever Made, 2020. I made it in January of this year. It's on my website, whoiskjosborne.com with a Z. It's the sequel to the first scariest movie ever I made way back in 2007. So please check it out if you have not had a chance to see it. Somebody said, "What is Discord?" Somebody said it's kind of weird. Hi, Escape This World. How you doing? Ania, how you doing? Let me jump over here. Oh, there we go. I think you're back. Hey, Jeff. Okay, I can hear you.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Damn.
How you doing?
I'm all right, man. How are you?
I'm good. Just talking to the audience, catching them up a little bit. I'm having to make a huge change to my KJ's What Happened show because this past Friday, it was the 3rd time in 2 months they've yanked it while I was live.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah, man. But I found some options that people might not be expecting. I'm going to release it probably tomorrow. I'm going to do a little show and tell them.
Do you think maybe it was because sometimes it's when you show something that is copyrighted. It happens to me quite frequently, actually.
Well, yeah, I mean, I thought of that, but the deal is I've been doing this shows for over 2 years. I've been showing people stuff forever, but now all of a sudden, maybe, and it's also around the time they demonetized my channel. Maybe that's part of it.
Yeah, you're on the radar.
Right. Now I'm on the radar. So, and I'm pretty sure it has something to do with when you show kids and stuff or violence, maybe. But then this third time, it was something random. It was allegedly a room containing clone bodies. I show weird stuff on the show.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like that was it. Then all of a sudden, boom, like it's gone. So
you revealed too much. Am I coming in?
Yeah, you sound great, man. You sound
okay, good. Because I had to change my microphone. I have a kind of a different setup here where I'm doing a standing type podcast sort of thing.
Okay.
So I was using a different microphone. It kept cutting out. So it was like everything was set to go, but I had to go and get my regular microphone and quickly plug it in. So it's more reliable. So anyways, that's good that I'm coming in well.
Yeah, you're good. No worries on that. I'll deal with updates with all this stuff later. Like I said, I'll explain. Twitch isn't a good option. I've looked into everything, man, and just so many of these places are censoring now, guys. So just bear with us as I'll make a change there, but I'll still be doing shows like this on YouTube, my regular videos and everything else. Okay, so enough about me. Jeff, say hi, man. How you doing? It's good to see you once again, and say hi to the folks. How you been?
Yeah, hello everyone, and I've been pretty good. I mean, as good, I guess, as you can be with everything that's going on with what we are all having to deal with around the world. We've never had anything quite like this, right? Where everybody is in a similar sort of situation, facing similar sort of restrictions and totalitarianism and all that.
Yeah, that was like a small part of a conversation. I did a show last night with another YouTube channel, and they were talking about how so many doomsdays have come and go, but we've made it through, and they're right. But just like you said, I said, but that's the difference, is right now we're witnessing a world-changing event unlike anything we've ever seen in written or recorded history. They've locked down the entire planet.
The entire world. I mean, it's like just before I came on, I covered Australia and Melbourne and Victoria there.
Yep, I want to get into that tonight too. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's absolutely nuts. So, they want to get us all in lockstep. They want us all to be muzzled forevermore, sort of thing. And they're destroying humanity, basically, or at least all of us. What the damage that's being done to particular, like children, people that are, developing and being forced to socially isolate and social distance and wear masks and constantly have all these chemicals all over your body, and especially your hands and stuff. It's the most evil thing I've ever seen in my life.
Did you see that video? I put a clip in my last video. It's from Australia, and it was a man in an apartment complex just wanting to go outside and get some fresh air.
Yeah. I didn't see it, but
okay. Yeah.
What happened?
Man, they had a dozen police officers in the lobby holding him back, telling him, go back inside, keep your mask on, you can't go outside. And the guy at one point says, but you let this pretty little girl come down with a dog every day and take it outside. And they just, nope, just go inside. And he keeps bringing that up. But even that just goes to show you, it reminds me of Clockwork Orange when it starts off with the three lunkhead buddies, the druggies and troublemakers. And one of the guys, Malcolm McDowell, kind of continues on that path and later runs into his two lunkhead buddies, and they're police officers, and they give him a good beating.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Give him a good beating. But it made me think of that just because that's the kind of system we're getting into now, where you're going to have that, you're going to have these total authoritarian types in control of your life, these certain police officers or whatever it's going to be, blue helmets, God only knows, right? But they'll be totally authoritarian. I'm sure they'll be giving, extra time to the lovely ladies, and probably even being abusing some of these lovely ladies if they like, right? Just because they can.
One I showed where they were strangling this woman, the police. They were literally, like, a big police officer was almost carrying her by her neck because she wasn't wearing a mask, and then threw her down on the ground and proceeded to arrest her. And there's a lot of these. One of the I don't know if it was the police captain, but somebody high up in the Victorian police force was saying that they were boasting about all the methods that they were using to control the people. And he was saying we had to 3 or 4 times this week bust into people's cars and smash their windows to pull them out because they refuse to identify themselves or provide
Wow.
proper. Yeah, yeah.
I haven't heard that one.
Yeah, it's I mean, you have to pinch yourself, but it's like, yeah, this is really happening, and it's extremely evil, and there's no justification whatsoever in any circumstance to treat human beings like this. And we should all be really upset and adamantly resisting this and standing up to it worldwide. This is an
Well,
opportunity, hopefully. I mean, if we're going to take a positive spin on this, hopefully this is the opportunity. This will be the straw that breaks the camel's back, in which most people will wake up to the illusion of the beast media, and how all of our leaders are all puppets that have been installed by the NWO to carry out missions like what they're doing right now, and have everyone go into this lockstep and just chisel away at all our rights and say, oh, we don't have any protections, we don't have any right to resist what they're up to. It's pure tyranny.
on the bright side of that, I did see a clip a couple days ago. I can't remember where it was, and the people in chat, if you're interested, one of those rabbit holes, you can dive down and look it up. But I did see that there was a large protest of people with the masks saying, "Take them off." They were walking, "Take them off, take them off." Lots of people, and
It
again,
might
I
be
don't
in
know.
Montreal, actually, because we had one here.
Oh, really? Maybe
Yeah,
that was it then. Well, that's
yeah.
sad if that's the only one that's out there. That's back to your point. It might be too late anyway.
Well, they're not going to let people know that stuff's happening too. Like, you're getting that because people that you are associated with, your friends and internet people, would be sending you that stuff, right? Your subscribers and Patreon.
Right.
But most people are not getting that, and if they are, I try to show this a lot, where they'll portray the people that do this type of stuff as the cause, as the problem.
Oh, yeah,
basically.
for sure.
So, like, when they say, like, for instance, Montreal, I showed some publications here locally that depicted the people who were protesting as as the enemy, basically, of humanity. These are and they say, we've got the Trump sickness here, or we've got, this is the equivalent of Canadian sort of Trumpians, or whatever they want to call them, right? MAGA supporters and stuff like that. And it's just dismissed, and it's being used as an example of how the non-compliant are screwing everybody. So that's the magic trick that they have done, because most people are dumb, I think. Unfortunately, that's the reality.
Yeah. Hey, it's true. I'm with
the
you.
magic trick that they have done is, amongst many things, is they have convinced the majority of people who watch the beast media and are under the beast mind control to be the instrument of change, to be the instrument, to actually be almost the stormtroopers of the New World Order. And this is I've shown many articles in the beast media that was pushing people to confront those who refuse to comply. And they've been doing this ever since this whole thing started, saying, you have to be vigilant, you have to go after, you have to confront when is it right to confront these people? When is it proper to cross the line, sort of thing? And this encourages people, because when, say, you're in a shopping mall or you're in a grocer, right? And you're going through the whole sort of the same thing I'm going through and everybody else is going through. You got to wear the mask and stand in line and do the 6 feet and all
follow
that crap.
The arrows.
Yeah, follow the arrow. I never do any of it, of course.
And I'm sorry, but did you see that thing where the new ad they have out for social distancing is a 666?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, I'm going to put that in something soon, but there's this new ad campaign and they have a feet in the center and then 3 sixes. Arrow with arrows. It's like, come on, guys, really? But
so
again, we get that, but go ahead though.
Yeah. So what happens is, it's like that winner mentality, right? Like, everybody wants to be on the winning team, right? It's like schoolyard behavior, right? It's very infantile, but this is how it works. So, like, when you're in a setting, so like in a grocery store, or department store, or something like that, you're getting your essentials, whatever it might be, right? If you're not complying and somebody turns against you, the majority of those people that are there will side with that person, and they'll form a mob against you. And we've seen this over and over again. So they're using that mob mentality to coerce the non-compliers into lockstep, basically. It's very evil.
Yeah, and that goes in with that Karen thing. And it's interesting
Yeah.
because you set me right on that actually a while back, and we talked because I had just, this is a few months back, I had just started seeing the use of Karen, and at first it was funny and it made sense. It's like, yeah, it's all these middle-aged white ladies that are scared of black people. That's what it
Yeah.
started off
Yeah.
as, but now it's mutated into something else. And like you said, Karen is its own psyop, and I've seen that now. You're right. Like anybody who thinks the mask is bad, suddenly they're a Karen. Anybody who doesn't want to
Or
go
a
along with
Ken.
the system, or a Ken, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's how the beast works. It's everything they do. It's like an example I could give. It's not quite the same sort of storyline, but say Valentine's Day or Galentine's Day, right? Like, that you've heard of Galentine's Day.
I'm not entirely sure. Please explain.
Okay, so Galentine's Day, and I've covered this for ever since they've been doing it, basically. Well, okay, the what the Beast did was they have a show called Parks and Recreation, and it's a popular show amongst the sheeple who are brain dead masses watching the
You
Beast
bet.
media, right?
Hipster
So-
office type show. I got
Yeah,
you.
yeah. So in one of the episodes, the main character makes this special day for her girlfriends, which is called Galentine's Day. It's the day before Valentine's Day, right? And so it's a show in which they do this, but next thing you know, it becomes a regular sort of day in the year, right? Like and now it's surpassed Valentine's Day.
Oh,
And-
really? Okay.
Yeah.
Look, man, that is a great example of people who don't know what that is, but that is a perfect example Jeff just gave us of predictive programming and how it works. Right. And they do it all the time. I mentioned this about The Office. I used to watch it many years ago. Then I would catch myself saying all the things Michael said. And I'm like, I got to stop that.
Yes.
That's what she said every time someone
Or
says
like,
something.
like Rick and Morty or The Simpsons or The
Mhm.
Family Guy or South Park. All of your base media works that way, and these things manifest. So, and it's never organic. It's not even remotely organic. It's just that, the water cooler type thing at the office or even at the high school or whatever, right? Where people get together and they talk about what they watched on their mind control last night, right?
Mhm.
And,
Yeah.
it's a lot of it is funny and it's creative and it's well done. So, I understand that people, because, we can all fall under that spell. The thing is that they can control us massively through this type. And so like Valentine's Day is an excellent example because it promotes women getting together, celebrating being women, getting wasted, because it's all dealing with treating yourself, treating your friends, getting wasted, and venting all your frustrations and whatnot, and having a full-on girl night. So think about it, folks. It's the day before Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day, whatever, chocolates and cards and all that crap aside, it's a man and a woman, celebrating love. I mean, like, if it's an excuse to have a romantic day, so ultimately it serves, they're probably, I don't know what the stats for babies and stuff like that, but probably, every 9 months later after Valentine's Day, there's probably a certain jump in the amount of births and stuff, because it would be one of those days where you'd pencil it aside and you'd do these things with your significant other. So now you have this Galentine's Day, which is a full-on feminist thing, which proceeds and gets all the women wasted the night before or the day before, where they're going to be all hungover, grumpy, not today, I've got a headache type thing with their, so they deconstruct the normal sort of family and
Sure.
the normal male and female sort of balance and relationships through all their machinations. And
great point.
so these are all just methods. So Karen is a great example. And again, it's from another one of their shows. I don't know. I think it was The Big Bang or something like that. One of those shows where they labeled someone a Karen. The laugh track. Everybody thinks it's funny.
Yep.
Next thing you know, it becomes a meme. It's pushed out on the social media, right? And look, most of what you deal with on Twitter and social media, the vast majority of accounts are bot accounts, right? So even if it's a real account that puts it out, it can be bot accounts. Alphabet agencies and whatnot that are operating these things that will make them viral and push them out as memes so that everybody sort of incorporates it into their lexicon, their daily sort of verbiage, like now all of a sudden, if I see a white middle-aged woman who's complaining about something, I'm going to say, oh, another Karen.
Yeah, exactly. And then just completely diminish her. It doesn't matter whatever
Yeah.
she says. It, yeah, it's wow. That's a great
And you
way to.
destroy that person. Like that person now is just a cliche. They're not a
They're not
living
even
thinking.
human. Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
they're
not
not
even
even
real.
human. And
So
and you think about it, I've explained this a lot too with the Karen thing, is that the majority, if we were to say what's the biggest demographic, like say, black single women or Hispanic women or, middle-aged men or whatever, the largest single demographic in North America would be middle-aged women. Like they would outnumber men because men tend to not live as long and have more cancers and stuff like that. So you're taking possibly the largest demographic and you're labeling them with this label that completely dismisses anything they do. Also, when it comes to the Karen videos that go viral, they're perfectly edited so that you only see the reaction, whether it's racist or something they said or they're blowing up about something. You almost never see what happens or precedes it. So you only get a slice of what actually happened,
true.
and it just, and then it just becomes, it's another Karen, it's another Karen. So they are, and they do this with everything. I say they do it with the men too, with the Ken and all that as well. But it's important for people to understand that if you catch yourself saying these things, you are actually under their spell, and you're helping, this type of mind control of the masses by proliferating those stereotypes and those memes, because that's what they want. So to break that, you have to stop and say, okay, wait a second. I'm not going to just dehumanize this person. I'm going to try to analyze something. Like Twitter, I removed the T and put an SH before it, right?
or
But
or twatter is another
yeah,
one.
exactly. But it's all about throwing something out, and it's never usually more than 30 seconds, and everybody freaks out. Like you get hit with something, and I guess it's the same with Instagram and all these things. It's like an instant viral sort of thing, and they can manifest these things over and over again every single day, and use them as weapons to deconstruct our relationships. And again, just think of the psychological effect now on middle-aged, say, white women, right? Like a lot of them are going to be, I better not say anything because I might be
Yep,
labeled a Karen, and then
that's
they'll
right.
stop standing up for themselves. And so it has a big impact. And if anybody doesn't think, say, it's racist, for instance, and the whole racist thing is all their beast system as well. But if you were just to say, okay, let's change the definition of Karen and let's apply it to middle-aged black women, or let's apply it to middle-aged Jewish women, how do you think that would fly? Right?
Yeah, you're right. I've actually been thinking, will they ever, will we get the Karen term for the black woman or whatever? And uh, there's a side of you where it's like, right, no,
No.
there's even that though, thinking that it would be a good idea. Then again, no, it's not, because I'm sick of the division, and I don't want people to be thinking in black and white. And we're fighting against that. People like ourselves are trying to fight against that mind control because it's so fierce right now, even down to Biden's pick with Kamala Harris. I mean, come on. Now, right? It's like that's almost the untouchable. Now, anytime Trump or his people say something, he's a misogynist.
Yes,
He's a
yeah,
racist. Yeah.
exactly. And you just think about it, it's like, instantly, it's actually extreme racism. If we were going to apply the definition of racism equally, not the way that the beast does it, right? Where you can't be racist towards white people. If you were to really apply it evenly, you would say that's extremely offensive and extremely racist,
Of
because you are
course.
dismissing a whole, huge swath of the population just, by saying, well, that's a Karen. And then, what are the impacts? Well, one of the things that they do with these Karens, and they do it with the Kens, and they do it with, all the alleged racists that they like to expose, is they dox them. And typically
Oh,
what
yeah.
happens,
Man,
yeah,
thanks for bringing that up. That's another great subject for us to get into. I have found so many videos lately of these little Aunt Farta and BL plus M people getting together. Usually it's just young white punks, boys and girls, but getting together and doing exactly what you're saying. That's what Twitter is all about, it seems, because they support these Antifa and Farta kids, and they allow them to dox people, and that's where they exchange information. And I found news stories like that. They'll go to someone's house and say, "Oh, this person's a racist," and then they'll take a picture of their address and put it on Twitter and say, "Get them, boys!"
Yes,
and it's evil. I'm with you.
and they're getting fired, and they're getting publicly humiliated, and then it's going to stay with them forever. And it's like, well, did they really, like, even if you say something, say racist, right? Like, even if you were to say something like, is that really what you are? Is that how black and white people are? Like, oh, this person is just an awful person, or is it, that person was having a bad day and maybe has some negative personality traits, and maybe got triggered, or maybe they're going through all kinds of stress in their life. Maybe they just had a loved one die, or somebody's dying of cancer or whatever in their life, and they're dealing with all this stress. Maybe they're not sleeping well. I mean, it just dismisses everything, and this is just a rotten person. And it's like, and I've shown it time and time again where these people are getting fired, and a lot of them are set up. Like, a lot of them are fake. A lot of the Karens. There's one that had the rainbow Filipino guy. He had chalk, and he was writing Black Lives Matter on his front, little wall.
Wall. Okay.
Yeah. And there was a Karen. "Excuse me, what are you doing?" And it's totally staged. Like, I showed how it's totally staged. I showed that this person, this alleged Karen, is connected to all these United Nations groups, and Yeah. And it's like, it doesn't matter, because you know how it works, right? It's like, well, you throw that out on Twitter and Instagram, and it goes viral because, of course, the beast makes it that way, and everybody just reacts predictably. Like, they've been programmed to react. Like, oh, this is another Karen. Oh, Karen this, and they'll even use like a good example too that I've shown many times in the past, because like I use Twitter. It's the only, other than YouTube, that's really the only social media that I use.
Really? Are you on BitChute? I didn't know.
Oh, I am on BitChute, but I don't really think of
BitChute
as like social media sort of thing.
Oh, I got you. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like communicating with people sort of thing.
You're not on Insta showing your lunch or anything like that, right? Showing the dinner plate, Hey guys, here's what I'm about to have for lunch.
Yeah. Here's my life. Here's me on the beach.
Yeah. Hey,
here's me eating ice cream.
Yeah, there's my puppy in a scarf. You're gonna love this.
Yeah. Oh, it's so cute. Gotcha. That's all mind control as well.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, just using. Okay, so I'll give you an example. GIFs, right? Or GIFs, I don't know. People pronounce them differently, right?
Yep.
If you look on Twitter, for instance, like, I'll give you an example, like a sigh, like that's a typical thing that people will use as a reaction, right? And you can use that as a reaction in your post. So you put an image or, like a short video image of somebody reacting, sighing sort of thing, right?
Right.
And that's a typical thing. But if you look within Twitter, and you look what the gifts that they provide you with, more often than not, the sighing person will be a transgender.
Really? Interesting.
Yes.
Interesting observation.
And this is how it works. It's like, for instance, if you were to look up for a GIF on Twitter, I know I've done this, like for totalitarianism, right? You won't find anything.
Oh, wow. They're censoring that. Makes sense.
Yeah, of course. And they want to keep, that's how they keep you in that Rick and Morty, Family Guy sort of,
this is your reality.
Yeah, this is your reality. This is how you need to react to everything. We provide all your reactions for you. And more often than not, your reaction is going to be a transgender who is, doing a sigh or doing a fist bump. Like if you're to look up, or, it would be all beta males, feminist and, all these different, it wouldn't be like, it's hard to find things that would be of purity,
or like you may find a woman that looks normal, but she'll be wearing a t-shirt that says "My husband likes to watch." Like
you mentioned too, like the sexual suggestions and the black versus the white and just the nefarious ways, the insidious ways that they do these, whether it's commercials, for instance, right? And you'll never hear again, the only thing I'll ever watch on television is say hockey, right? But I do try to pay attention to certain commercials and stuff, and people will send them, and I used to cover them quite often. But in Quebec, for instance, You will never see a commercial that has like two white, like a heterosexual sort of white couple. Like you'll never see that ever, ever. And it's like, well, wait a second. The vast majority of the population here in Quebec is French Canadian, which means they're white, right? But yet everyone's got to be different colors. Everyone, and that's just the way that all this beast system works, is deconstructing everything that would have given us strength and would have made us functioning, societies and strong role models, and everything is being inverted.
Totally.
Right? And all it's done on every level, your television, your commercials, your ads. If you're walking around, you see what the ads that they put in the bus stops and stuff like that, and you'll see all the rainbow unicorn, the multiracial, the homosexuality, LGBT, the transgender.
It's the new religion. That's the new religion, man.
Yeah.
These are just glimpses of it. But even here in America, I've seen a massive uptick in every commercial has to have a black and a white partner. When again, I have nothing against that. I've dated outside of my race and whatever, right?
Right.
But they make a big deal out of it. The system does, and then it makes some of us just dislike that. And then and then by proxy, suddenly you're back into that black versus white. Nah, I don't like them, and they don't like me. It's a sick system. And you're right. So many people, we say maybe you're dumb or maybe ignorant, whatever, but yeah, it's true, man. I still see it all around me in real life right now. And what can you do? I don't know about you, but I gave up a long time ago on trying to save everybody. I just want to do the best we can, reach the ones we can, and just hope for the best.
Yeah,
at this point.
I do agree with that, but I think ultimately what we have to realize, and this is what I would hope, the vast majority of humanity would realize, is that everything is controlled. Like the beast controls it all. Like, so whether it's your social media, it's your television, it's your news stations, it's your magazines, it's your sports, it's your movies, your video games, it's all controlled by the beast, all of it. It's like there's very little that's left that is anywhere remotely organic. Like and again, like that phrase organic is always thrown out there when they want you to buy into something, right? Oh, this is purely organic. This is, but really when we're talking about it, you look at, well, what do people use for social media? Well, it's not like there's 20 alternatives to Twitter, right? Or there's like 30 different alternatives to YouTube. It's YouTube, or it's Twitter, or it's Instagram, or it's Facebook, or, TikTok, right? And you have these massive, they have so much power because they control the flow of all the information. They decide, they're the arbiters of truth. They decide what gets censored and what doesn't, what becomes viral and what doesn't, what people will consume on a daily basis is all up to the beast, because they have taken control of all methods of modern communication. The only thing that maybe we still have is the old telephone call, right? Which again is another method that they're trying to control as well, through the cell phones, for instance, right? And smartphones and all of that.
Right.
So
even some of the TVs are watching you through apps now. So
they're watching you nonstop.
Right.
Like years back, like I remember when I first started Free Radio Revolution, we talked about how the OnStar was one of the first stories we talked about, which was the supposed sort of emergency response system that you would have in your I think it was Chrysler. I don't know which cars it was, right? But one of the big three automatic, they had this OnStar thing, OnStar, of course, with a 5-pointed star. How it works.
Oh, right.
But it was leaked back then. It was leaked. Sorry?
No, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, so it was a system where if you got in trouble, right, or if your car broke down, that you could click the OnStar button and there would be somebody there 24/7 that would respond and fix you up and send help or send a tow truck or whatever, right? And so on the surface, oh yeah, it's a good thing to have, right? It keeps you safer. But what was leaked is that they're always recording everything that's happening in all of your cars. And they had to come out and they admitted this back, I think it was 2012 or whatever. And the same thing happened with the smart televisions. So if you've got a smart television, you see that little red light, because they don't want you to ever turn the thing off, right? Like it's never off unless you unplug that SOB sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
You got to unplug that thing, because if that little red light is on, that means it's on, and it's most definitely watching you. It's most definitely recording you. If any, and of course we know with the echoes and the eye dots and all the things that people are putting in their homes.
I don't know about you. I don't know anybody. Well, I've seen them in businesses a lot, but I don't know anyone personally that has that. But I don't know a lot of people anyway. So I really hope that people aren't doing that. Anyone listening right now, please don't have an echo or whatever the other. What are they all called? There's like 2 or 3 of them.
Oh, there's it's Amazon too as well. So much is happening, folks. Like they want to change everything. They want to change.
They're altering humanity. This is transhumanism. Yeah.
It's like, okay, when we look at the scamdemic that's happening right now, it's a total deconstruction of humanity. Like it is so utterly evil what they're doing.
And I'm sorry, Jeff. I also want to say just on that. And to me, one thing I keep thinking about with this whole the scamdemic and with the masks and everything is it's placed the mass parts of humanity, especially America, into this mindset where anything can happen. You're no longer in the real world.
Yeah.
So we're prepared now for anything.
Yeah.
And kind of on a tangent, I've been watching New York City a lot because now I'm completely convinced that they're purposefully destroying it. And I'm still watching because maybe I'll do a video on this, but there's a lot of prophecy. It's on the money that New York is going to get hit by a tidal wave, by perhaps a nuke, and then a tidal wave. And that's also on St. John's Pillars in New York. And there's been a lot of dreams and visions, and a lot of people have covered this for many years. And it's been a lot of predictive programming about the waves in New York and New York being wiped out. So, and
New York's always hit too in the disaster movies.
Yeah, and even Obama one time, it seemed random, but it was during some speech or something, and they asked what he was most afraid of, and he said, "What I'm most afraid of is Russia popping off a nuke outside of New York City." Right. So, I mean, the whole setup's there now. New York City it's turned into the movie Escape from New York.
Yes.
One of my favorites. I love Kurt Russell. One of my favorites.
Yeah, it's a great film.
But it's turning into that. And really, all the wealthy people are leaving right now in droves, and madness is running loose. And I really think they're going to let that city die. And maybe this is the, if you will, good people or awake people's last chance to get the hell out. Go stay with family for a while or whatever you can do. New York is in trouble. Go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. There's New York is, and a lot of people won't realize this, but I covered it like 2-3 years ago where they Blumenthal and who's the mayor there? Of course, you got Governor Cuomo,
and then de Blasio.
De Blasio, that's it. So a couple years ago, and they're doing this everywhere, so people need to know this, right? Like, okay, maybe we'll never have stadiums full like we've had before. And stuff like that, but like facial recognition cameras are all over New York City. Like people don't even realize this. You cannot get into New York City without being identified. Like you may think they can detect somebody going at 200 kilometers an hour, right? Like their facial recognition cameras are that good at picking out people. So even if you think that somehow you'd be able to sneak into New York City or something, so in effect, these are things that I believe they set up in preparation for this massive pandemic that they're carrying out. And you see Australia and Moscow, for instance, I covered this like months back, where they set up facial recognition cameras all over Moscow, though you can't go anywhere in Moscow without the government tracking you. And they had one guy that stepped out, he broke his curfew, and he went to put a bag of garbage into the freaking garbage dump right outside of his building, and the police came to his home, right? And they were using that as an example, and they're saying, like in Moscow, they were implementing this system, and it's very akin to what's happening in Melbourne right now, in which you have to ask the government permission to actually leave your home, and you have to have, they'll give you, you're not allowed to go, you have to, if you're going to go shopping, they'll say you're only allowed to go to this area, and you'll have to tell them which stores you're going to, right? And they'll say you can go between 2 and 3 o'clock on, say, Tuesday or something like that to this store, right? And all of this is unfolding, folks, where they are going to make this system where we will have no privacy, where everything we do, everything we buy, everything that we consume, everywhere we go, we will be watched.
Jeff, there was a clip that somebody filmed here in America from a Walmart maybe a week and a half ago, and stop me if you saw this. I put this in a video, I think, as well. It's somewhere in the South. Man had a Southern accent, but he's at a Walmart, pulls his camera out, and he's looking up at a facial recognition camera monitor they have in Walmart. And it's looking at him, and he's got the mask on. And when he takes it down and moves it up, you can see the square go over his face and then disappears. He's putting it on. He said, right there, I'm telling you guys, he says, this is all about control.
Yes.
It's not about some flu. He said, and you mark my words, this is some old Southern boy, and I loved it. So you mark my words, Walmarts are going to be prisons very soon.
Yes.
Yes.
I showed this too, where they're Walmarts now. What they're doing, I can't remember exactly which one, but people have been putting up videos showing this in the United States, where they're setting up these massive fences for the queues to get in. So these massive fences, even with barbed wire on the top and stuff.
Whoa.
So, and yeah, they would have, facial recognition cameras as you come in through the queue, and you'd have to go through and socially distance, while you're waiting in line to be granted access. And they would be able to identify you, of course, and determine, like, of course, like some of the things I've shown are so disturbing, like Toronto, for instance, implementing these AI portals that you would go through to get into your grocery store or get into any place, like even a gymnasium or something like that, where you'd have a portal that would scan your body. You would be facially recognized. They would take your temperature, and they would be able to determine any chemicals that you have in your system, or whether you've been sick at all, even for the past few weeks. It would be able to pick those things up, and you would have artificial intelligence in the stores using the cameras and everything else to make sure that you do not violate your social distancing, so that if you actually came within, say, 6 feet of somebody, you would get a warning.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you add to that Google Go Pay system they're building, where they already have in some stores where you just pay with your phone as you leave, So yeah, the whole thing's coming in. That's why I tell you, man, Jeff, I don't know about you, but it's just, I still meet knuckleheads sometimes through people I know here in the real world that don't even see anything coming. They don't see all this mark of the beast, if you will, type stuff coming their way. That's all hogwash. Everything's going to be all right. And I'm like, God help you, man. I do like some of these people. They're actually pretty fun people to be around, but I have to put that side. I have to put all that stuff to the side. You know what I mean? I got to put on just my fun KJ mask and not think about the world, when I'm around some of these people. Otherwise, I'll get mad at them.
Yeah, and that's all part of that control, because they're so heavily programmed into what they believe, and they're programmed into having those types of reactions to people like us who would challenge their paradigm. The thing about paradigms too is, like, it's a very big thing. Like, I know this from friends and family, right? That, look, like, I used to try to inform people about 9/11, right? And if you're somebody, right, that, you have a big career and, maybe a family and stuff like that, and you're working for, government or academia or something like that, and your belief is the 19 guys with box cutters, right? Sort of thing, right? The fairy tale, right? If that paradigm is challenged, your whole foundation of beliefs would fall apart.
Yeah.
Because what would you believe after that? Because if you realized, oh my gosh, right? Oh my gosh, that the real story is
they killed their own people,
right? Yeah, and then there'd be, like, everything else would fall apart, because then you'd be like, well, how can I believe? And then you'd realize, well, wait a second, it's all the beast system. It's all under their control. So I think a lot of people, this would be absolutely devastating. Like, it would make them so incredibly depressed, because it's much easier just to pretend, oh no, everything's okay. Bill Gates doesn't want to kill us. This is all important. We need to socially distance and wear a mask and all this, right?
He just keeps telling the truth, and people aren't listening. I saw another clip the other day during a news interview where he said, oh, no, it's not going to be one round of the VAX. It's going to be multiple.
Yeah.
And admitting that these have hurt some people already.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, hello, people. But like you said, most people don't see that. I went to my, I live about half an hour from my folks, and they're still together, which is great. And so I'll go see them once a week. I'll watch Big Brother or whatever goofy shows on at the time. And whenever
that's ironic, eh?
Yeah. Well, I worked on it too, by the way. Did you know that?
I think you said that, right? Yeah,
right.
that's crazy. Yeah.
I worked on it. That I still know people that are producers on there. I mean, I don't know them personally, but they're still, the names are on there. And
Mhm.
I liked the show. And you're right, it is ironic. And some people in the past, oh my God, he worked on Big Brother. He's one of them, years ago. And there's a lot of that
Yeah.
troll stuff years ago. It's not as bad now, but maybe because we blocked them all. I don't know. But I watched Big Brother with him, and I went over there last week, and I watched local news with my parents. It was like 22 minutes. Any 30-minute program is 22 minutes and 8 minutes for ads. I turned to them when it was over. I said, "Mom, Dad," I said, "they told you nothing, nothing. They told you nothing." And I didn't say it in a snotty, mean way. I said it in a funny, goofy way. But I was like, it's crazy, guys. I go in 3 of those stories, like 5 stories, and then 1 happy story about a kid and a dog or something. 3
Yeah.
orange man bad, 2 Democrats doing good things. And again, and then one of my cousins got my parents to start watching Fox News instead of all this other stuff, which even that I had to explain to them. I was over there a while back. I said, this is okay too, but it's out of all of them, it's the least evil. But even with that, guys, we got to really think about what we're seeing here, because it's probably 60% BS and then maybe 40% truth in here, the way I see Fox News,
A good example is the scamdemic. And one of the things that I covered recently was the frontline doctors. Did you see those Trumpians?
I was really curious about your thought on that, because because it seemed, I just want to hear what you thought, especially with the demon sperm and all that. I'm interested in all that weird stuff, and when that lady has a lot of interesting theories, but she was totally demonized, of course, in the media, and they bounced on that. Perhaps that was part of the plan. Go ahead.
So there's a lot of predictive programming with hydroxychloroquine, which is very interesting. It's like, what? You go back, there's a show in 2003, so like what, 15 plus years ago, right? Which they had an outbreak that happened, and all the people were isolated into I think it was a school or something like that, and these people were starting to die, and everybody's infected, and the government doesn't know, and the FDA is all wrong, and we have the solution, and the solution, of course, was hydroxychloroquine. Did you see that, by the way?
I have not heard of that. Do you remember the name of the show or where you saw it? Or?
I do have it on my channel, so I'll get it to you. I don't have it right now, but it's widely available, and so, like, again, and there's a lot of I've gone deep into the rabbit hole of hydroxychloroquine, so there's a lot to deal with that. But the end of the day is this, okay? Like, I think like Dr. Erickson and some of the doctors that have appeared have said a lot of logical things, right? Like Dr. Erickson is saying things like, we need to have germs, we need to have expel, we need to breathe, we need to interact, we need to socialize, we need to touch each other, stuff like that. So they just say a lot of things. But this is like, folks need to understand that there's always there's a left right, always, right? That's how it works. That's the beast system, right? There's always a left right paradigm, and it's always controlled. I mean, come on, they're not going to say, you know what, let's just control the left. We don't have to worry about the right, we'll just use the left to attack the right. No, they control both sides. All right. I mean, Rupert Murdoch runs freaking Fox News. I mean, what more can you say, right? So even though Fox News is better and will critique, sometimes rightfully so, even people like Tucker Carlson sometimes will say really good things, and you'll be like, yeah, I agree with that, but at the end of the day, it is part of the controlled paradigm. So when the doctors for the frontline doctors came out and Trump endorsed them, the one of the ones was this, I don't know if she's Nigerian or Tanzanian or something like that, Nigerian, yeah. And she was saying things like, oh, we used hydroxychloroquine and we saved a lot of people's lives. But she also pushes that there's lizard people in the government and they're using alien DNA and stuff like that. So how does it play for the mainstream media, especially the leftist media, is they, oh, look, this is the crazy witch doctor who thinks that alien DNA is being put into vaccines and lizard people run the government. It's perfectly set up for that divide and conquer. Now, again, too, with the hydroxychloroquine and those doctors, is like, just think about it, folks. What are they saying? They're not telling you this is a scamdemic. They're not telling you, oh, COVID's not killing people. They're not telling you, oh, it's probably just the flu or whatever. They're telling you, oh, yeah, it's real, but we have a better solution. So, and again, like, I'm not saying that there isn't anything, and this is widely debated, right? That is it just the flu? Is it just a simple sort of coronavirus that's going around? We know for a fact that most of the deaths that they're being rubber stamped, and the hospitals are getting paid massive amounts of money, $45,000 plus per each coronavirus death. I think it's like close to 20,000 for anybody who's admitted based on coronavirus. So it's ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. We know that thousands or at least hundreds of people have gone out to film hospitals, and all the hospitals that have been filmed have been completely empty.
They
right?
built one in New York City for $21 million that never had a patient in it once.
Yeah, exactly. And we've seen this around the world, right? Whether it's Germany or Brazil, or even in places in China and stuff like that. And the thing is that what happens is that the way that the control system works is that they know that there's always going to be a certain percentage of people that are going to resist their leftist media, right? And that they're going to go to they want to be able to gatekeep and control those people and keep them within the fold. It's like, okay, you think of, I mean, one of my buddies that Harry Cookie Monster I used to bring on the show a lot. He did a great sort of graph where he was showing, like, you could take, say, like a marker, or like, say, on a computer, right? And you have like a pencil, or like one of those tablet pencils or something, like an Apple pencil or something like that. And you could put like a streak across a white page, right? But if you were to zoom in on that streak, like, it might just look like a line, but if you zoom in, you see there's all these little pixels, and a lot of them are not uniform, and some of them are heading in, are on the far left or the far right. So if you think about it, you think of the herd, and you think of the cowboys, right? Or the shepherds, or the dogs, or whatever they would use to move the herd, right? The herd is always being pushed in a direction, right? And that's why I wanted people to think of cattle, think of cowboys, and how they do it. You have your cowboys on the left, you have your cowboys on the right, sort of thing, right? And you are managing the herd and directing where they're going. So even if people stray far on either side, they're still in the same herd. As long as you stay within that bubble, that left-right system, you're part of the herd, and you're heading in the same direction. You just don't.
In that context, what are we then? People like us, would you say? I guess
we're outside of it.
We're outside of the system. Yeah, we're the sheep that got over the fence.
Yeah,
we're all out saying, "Come on, guys, let's go."
We're the black sheep that's trying to say to the herd, "Get out of there, get away! Those cowboys, they're gonna slaughter you or whatever." Then
they go tattle and tell the dog and the owner every time they come around. They're spreading conspiracies again over here.
Yeah, so. Yeah. Look at these crazy conspiracy theorists. They think that that famous image there. Where, and so I'll just explain to folks that are listening.
Yeah,
it's like, you've probably seen this, but if you haven't, it's pretty hilarious. It's sheep, and there's a sheep that's trying to warn them that the dog and the farmer are working together, right? And they're like, "You're just crazy. You believe in every conspiracy theory, right?"
Yeah.
And that's exactly, in my opinion, my experienced and researched opinion is both sides are equally controlled. It's just, again, I would definitely fall more into the conservative right sphere of how I think things should be done, in a proper sort of political setting, right? Not in a complete controlled paradigm. But yeah, and we've shown this too when it comes to, like, one of the things I probably should explain to your listeners is I spent many years exposing the right-wing media, from Rebel Media to Alex Jones to Mike Cernovich to Pizzagate to a lot of.
I'm curious, what'd you get on Rebel Media?
Well, it's it's like Breitbart and The Blaze and all the others. It's run out of Israel, basically. So
okay.
It's just control. Like,
right.
People look to The Blaze, they look to Breitbart, they look to Rebel Media, and they think, this is for us. They're fighting for us. But no, they're just gatekeepers that are part of the whole system, and they're actually mostly operated out of Israel. So
Yeah,
that's the reality.
that goes back to an old school guy named Adam Kokesh, who was a good example of that too.
Yeah, yeah,
Right,
exactly.
the truther. But yeah, man, he
He was
he
the
really
guy.
led some people some bad ways. Go
He
ahead.
was trying to get everybody to register for a armed march on Washington fiasco
Right,
way
right.
back when, and
Yep.
all these characters are connected too on the right. Like they're all working together, whether it's Lawrence Southern or it's Mike Cernovich or Paula Josephine Twatson or all these characters. They're all connected. They're all part of the same operation. So they work. Again, they might say, and then it's not like everything they're going to give you is fake or false. A lot there's ammunition on both sides of the left-right paradigm that is put out every day.
Let me ask you something quickly on that
Mhm.
too. Here's one that really threw me with Paul Joseph Watson. I mean, I've been sub to him like many others for many, many years. Out of the Alex Jones camp, I follow a few of those people, and yeah, some of those videos are funny and interesting and entertaining. It's pop culture type stuff, But and I'm okay with that. But man, about a few months ago, he started coming on wearing these hats. This black and white hat. It was pentagrams. It
Yep.
was all. I'm like, dude. When I started seeing that, it just gave me a bad vibe. And even if he thinks it's funny, we're living in a time right now where people are so awake and aware, so many of us, of that kind of thing and what that means. This isn't a good time to play with people. You know what I mean? It's not.
Yeah.
It's not funny. So maybe it's really him revealing who he is, or what's
Of
inside,
course.
right? Go
Yeah,
ahead.
like I'll give two examples, two perfect examples. Well, I'll ask you, but I think we've talked about this before. Just let me know if we have. If I was to say to you, KJ, who's the top, LGBT, PQNS, WXYZ critic? Who is the top transgender critic on the right?
Top transgender critic on the right. Let
I'd
me
say,
think.
the top transgender critic and the top LGBT, PQNS, WXYZ critic on the right.
The
There's
only
two.
only one I know of is somebody called Blair White. I've seen
Yes,
her connected with a lot of the
exactly.
right stuff. Is that the
Her,
one?
her,
Him.
yes.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
the top conservative critic on transgender is a transgender.
Oh, that goes. Yeah, that goes. It goes back to the Psy always being the transgender in a
The
way. Anyway,
top,
go ahead.
the top LGBT critic is Milo Yiannopoulos, and
Oh,
he is, he's a Satanist and he's a homosexual and all this stuff, right? And he's also of a certain tribe as well. And so, like, that's how it works. It's like you don't even, like, the people on the conservative side would say, but I listen to Blair White, I'm informed about this. And no, they've already got you. You're already in the pot because you're already getting your critique of all the transgender stuff from a transgender. They've already got you like that. And I exposed Blair and Milo way back when, and even challenged them both to debates and all that stuff.
oh, you did. Wow.
Oh yeah. I used to routinely expose these characters and what they were up to, but I don't do that anymore because we got so much more going on. We can't
Exactly.
waste time with it. But it is part of that controlled system, unfortunately, folks. It doesn't mean that Twatson or even Cernovich or Alex Jones or Ezra 11th or any of these characters aren't going to say correct things at times. At times they're going to say, Jordan Peterson, another one. At times they're going to say things that are absolutely logical and you would agree with for sure. But at the end of the day, it's all about, the cowboys on the right and the cowboys on the left controlling the herd and the gatekeepers keeping people from going any further. Right. And years back when I used to I corresponded with Jordan Peterson when he first came on the scene, and I was corresponding, I think, emails and stuff, and saying, look, like you're going on about pronouns. I've been exposing the whole agenda and Agenda 21, Agenda 2030. I was trying to school him, saying, like, you're not even getting anywhere near what is actually going on. This is social transformation. This is depopulation. This is transhumanism. You have to go many layers deeper than just the pronouns. The pronouns is just silly stuff, right?
Yeah, that's a good point, though. You're right. I've seen he's done full hour, 2 hour long talks just about the pronouns, and I know
Yeah.
what you're saying. He's still just on the surface. Go ahead.
And he'll say things like this. He'll say that, the government changing laws to prohibit or to force people to use pronouns, right? Because that's what happened in Canada with Bill C-16, right? So the government passed laws saying you have to use the correct pronouns, and if you don't, you could spend up to 2 years in prison.
Wow.
This is when Jordan Peterson burst on the scene, and he came directly from Ezra 11th. He came directly from, you know where,
Yeah.
that little place in the Middle East that caused a lot of trouble. Anyways, the thing is this. All right, so I lost my train of thought there. I was gonna say,
Jordan Peterson came out of the place. He was talking about just the pronouns or whatever.
yeah. So yeah, you get wrapped. Oh, so okay. So this is what he said. Okay, so yeah, now I remember. He said, okay, it's one thing for the government to do this, right? That if the government forces you to use pronouns, that is wrong and it's unconstitutional. It's really wrong. But it's an entirely different thing if the government prohibits people from questioning the Holocaust.
Right.
So he's saying it's okay for the government to arrest people or incarcerate people for questioning the Holocaust, but it's not okay for people to be arrested or incarcerated for not using the right pronouns. So you see what I mean? It's
clown
like
world. Yeah.
clown
world.
So, you know, you got to be careful of your idols on the right. They're all controlled. Trust me on this. It doesn't mean that everything they say, you can get a lot of good information, you know, snippets here and there, but always take it with a grain of salt and realize, just critical thinking.
Critical thinking, which is lacking, which they're not even teaching children anymore, you know?
No, they never will.
Yeah.
I mean, the foundations.
That's the last thing they want.
No, yeah. I mean, there's famous. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I just saw a news story a couple days ago that apparently now there's more stories coming out where a lot of teachers around the country here are getting really worried about this online teaching because they realize the parents are going to be in the room with the kids, and now they're going to hear what they have to tell these children.
Yes. Yeah.
So see, that's a good thing to come out of this. Good, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I think homeschooling's the way to go, but you also have to have, because
some interaction.
If you have bad parents, you know,
right,
it's not so good, right?
I brought that up before too. It's all the abuse out there, and unfortunately, it's a big deal. And with this system being so, well, it's like a roller coaster right now. You know, we're going through some fast changes. Well, so I mean, a lot of people are going to be on edge. And anyway, go ahead.
Well, yeah, we have to really emphasize. I think it's really important for people to realize how this deconstruction of humanity is unfolding and that what their objectives are, because the children is where we should really be focused, like in many ways, because the impacts of this scamdemic on the children are incalculable, right? Like we have no idea how much damage will be done. There's almost very little good that will come out of this. Like there'll be some kids that maybe will find their passion, you know, maybe it'll be like learning an instrument or something like that, or a craft, right? And that'll be good. And so it's not always all bad. But for most of the kids, when you're of a certain age, right? Like, I mean, any age, really. I mean, teens need to socialize. Like, I talking about this with my upbringing, right? Like, I was in the mud, building tree forts, chasing girls. You know, I was a typical freaking boy, like, growing up, always with so many kids around, socializing nonstop, you know, always, you know, sports and, you know, being with other kids. And I was talking about how physical my interactions with my buddies were all the time. Like we'd wrestle each other, we'd punch each other, you know, we had all handshakes. Like I have like different buddies. Every buddy that I had, we'd have a different handshake that we would do, a different greeting, right? Because it was cool. Yeah. It was like our little thing. And this is all about trust and developing relationships and communities. And you know, family and communities is our strength, right? They're trying to annihilate this. And they don't want us to be able to develop bonds.
Exactly.
Right?
Yep.
And this is so evil because you think about it, touch is so important for trust, right? When you have that physical, it's like a hug or a kiss or a handshake. You know, so you handshake somebody, handshakes are so important, right? Like they tell you so much about somebody. When somebody really squeezes your hand or tries to one up you or on a handshake, you know they're a bad person, right? Like
yeah.
right? But when somebody shakes your hand, sometimes you shake somebody's hand and they even bring their other hand in to emphasize, and they hold it and they look you in the eyes. And this is how you develop trust in somebody. That's like, I can trust that person with my life. Like, that person would never betray me. Well, they're annihilating this. They're making it so you cannot develop that trust without the touch. You can't.
Well, I've talked about this before. They're also preparing for a human extinction on some level, the post-human existence. And we've already been programmed through Walking Dead, which is a show you and I both have watched, and some other things out there. They're preparing us for that kind of an existence, because that's what you'll have if you won't accept this, whatever it's going to be, a mark, a chip, a tattoo. Right. So we're going to have to live like we were back in the 1800s, and there'll be pockets of communities. And do you think I'm just being crazy here?
No,
but that's the way I see it going, man.
Dude, you've talked about this, because I actually got some of this from watching your show. You do so much good work, KJ, right?
Thanks, man.
I love the way you cover stuff. But I remember you talking about the underground training for the military, right? And it's like, what the hell? Why are they doing all this training for underground warfare and stuff like that? Well, there's a film that I talked about yesterday. I was doing kind of a spontaneous live thing, testing out my new stand-up thing. And I started talking about the film Demolition Man, which I think is from like the early 90s, right? With Sylvester Stallone and Wesley Snipes.
A classic.
Yeah. So you know it, right?
Oh,
so
I do.
What happens in that? Well, nobody touches anymore. Like, everything you do is being monitored. You're always you're hooked up to a central sort of computer AI system that monitors your temperature and your breathing rate and everything, right? Nobody touches, nobody has sex. There's no physicality whatsoever, right? Everybody eats Pizza Hut. It's the only thing left.
Actually,
right?
I'll give you this one. I'll give you another connection to where that connects to modern day. It was Taco Bell. It's the most famous. It's like the only restaurant in that whole society, right? And it's like fine dining when they go to Taco Bell.
Was it Taco Bell? So I got it wrong, right? It's
okay. Yeah. Well, the reason I bring it up is it is Taco Bell, but because last year in America, Taco Bell was voted America's favorite Mexican restaurant.
Oh my gosh.
So there you go. There's your connection.
I call it Taco Hell, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, but I did a video on it. That was one of my first. I did that when I still lived in Austin, Texas, before ever going to Central America. And I pulled up to a Taco Bell and I was recording. It's still on the channel. And I think it is called 666 Taco Hell or something like that. But it showed how, there's on every Taco Bell, there's the 3 logos on the building. Yeah. Each one has a 6 under the bell and then the serpentine eye. I mean, it's an easy one.
You wonder what it is, right? Like, okay, so just to the getting back to demolition just for a second.
Yeah, please.
Who are the people that don't comply, and what happens to them? Do you remember?
Cryogenically frozen. I actually put that. Right?
No. Yes. They do cryogenically.
The guys come out of cryogenic frozen in that future. Now I remember, but what happens to the people?
Oh no. Okay, so do you remember the Dennis Leary character?
Was he a doctor?
No. Okay, so
I don't.
So they bring out Sylvester Stallone because they bring out Wesley Snipes and they take him out of cryogenic. They take him out of the freezer, and he's like a psychopathic, thug who's way too physical and way too powerful, and they can't deal with him, so they thaw out Sly, right? To go but what happens is what Sylvester Stallone learns is that there's a resistance to the new world, the new reality on Earth, and they all live underground, and they're led by this Dennis Leary character, and they actually eat rat meat and stuff like that.
Oh.
Like and he goes underground, and he sees like this is where all, like, whether it's street people or vagrants, or just people that refuse to comply, including the Dennis Leary character. So he's like the anti-hero type guy. He's like, I like to do this. I like to touch people. I like to have sex. I like to, eat fried chicken. I like to, So why I'm bringing that up is because all the stories lately about the underground training for the military and a lot of the symbolism. I also mentioned THX 1138, the YouTube produced series The Thinning with Logan Paul, the New World Order. It's actually called the New World Order, in which the children of the future go through aptitude tests, and they're culled, right, based on their aptitude test.
Did you ever cover the episode of Impulsive, his podcast where Alex Jones went on there?
I saw a little bit of it. I didn't really.
It was goofy. Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, but yeah, in that it's a similar scenario in a lot of these films where the last resistances to this New World Order end up underground, right, or are forced underground, sort of thing, and that they have to root these people out, or that's what they have to do. So my suspicion is that maybe what will happen through the scamdemic is they'll start to drive these people to underground, areas to resist. Like if you're going to resist, for instance, getting vaccinated, you won't be allowed to function within society. You won't be allowed to go grocery shopping. You won't be allowed to walk down the street. You have checkpoints, thermometer, drones, everything is going to be monitoring everything you do. So where can you go? Unless you're out in the boonies, you probably have to go underground, sort of thing. So potentially they're anticipating that there'll be a large, like literal underground movement of people that will take to subterranean sort of world to, somehow evade this New World Order. I mean, it's
wow. Well, that's interesting because there's so many tunnels being found all the time. There was recently a fire somewhere, and they discovered underneath the building a bunch of underground tunnels there too, and I can't remember where or when. But I see so much news every day. But yeah, and it also makes me think of the tunnels they found under Los Angeles. I think it was in the 40s, and it had all this reptilian stuff on the walls. Did you ever see that? It's a famous old news story. But they found these massive tunnel systems under Los Angeles, and they believed they were inhabited by lizard people. I know it's crazy stuff. I know
maybe not though.
Well, I have my theories on some of this stuff. But
have you seen Governor Whitmer?
Oh my gosh, man! If ever there was a monster, if ever there was a reptilian amongst us,
you know who she reminds me of?
Who?
Have you ever seen the original V? With Mark Singer?
Oh yeah, it was classic.
Yeah. The antagonist Diana.
Oh, of course,
she was like the hot lizard babe.
Yeah. that's great.
That's Gretchen Whitmer for me. Like that is her, right? Like
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like we laugh about it. You can't really be too serious about it because there's no proof to really back it up. But
But she's mean. She's mean though.
They're reptilian in their behavior.
They are, right, and you're absolutely, they're terrors. I might call them, but yeah, she's just a mean person. I'll watch some of these clips of her where she's passing more of these Orwellian laws on her people, and she'll just be sitting there just proud, and she knows she looks good. She's attractive, and it's just the ultimate narcissist monster is in charge of those people. It's scary.
And again, almost all of these people have been installed right around the world. It's interesting, KJ, our chief medical doctor here, who's in charge of the entire coronavirus.
Yeah.
Her Wikipedia page, which is relatively new. I think this person came out of nowhere, basically, right? But was a Chinese, born in Hong Kong. But her, they altered they altered that person's Wikipedia, and I showed this. I went and looked on Wikipedia, and the earlier version said that she was born a man. Yeah.
Yes. Well,
Teresa Tam.
Right. Oh, that's Teresa Tam. Okay.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
She's a little monster herself, or he, I guess. But that's a part of it. I call it the rise of the rainbow children, because even around where I live, kind of out in the country, out in Oklahoma, Midwest, I'll see these little boys, running around with just these dainty little kind of gayish, if you will, and if that makes sense, haircuts where it's long in the front and short in the back, and all frosted with pink, blue, and green.
Oh, good Lord!
And wearing pink and yellow and socks, and just looking, it's just, and it's crazy. And it's not just like I see it once; I see it everywhere. And so it's that encroaches on. That's the thing. Until my little town actually partially defunded our police, and they did it recently, and made everyone wear masks, I still felt kind of safe from the beast system, like far away, and I can look at it from afar. We can discuss it, and now it's here. It's the thing. It's like it's on us. It's all around us, And I'd even mentioned last night, I recently bought a rifle. I got a Ruger, a 30-06.
Nice.
Yeah, just in case. And I hope and pray I never have to pull it out and use it, but now's that time. I don't know how deep it's going to get where I'm at.
Practice.
Yeah, I haven't shot in a long time. It's true.
Yeah,
as a military, I had to shoot all the time. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
I'm going to practice. Make sure you get ammo. That's the other thing, folks. That's the trick. You can have a gun with no ammo.
They're trying to exhaust the ammo supply, and
they only had 2 boxes of what I wanted at the place I was at. So it's like,
Yeah.
But my point is, when I went there, the guys that were working at the counter, they're both older gentlemen, probably late 60s and their 70s, whatever, both masked up. We all had to wear masks. And as I'm waiting on my background check, I kind of made a little joke. I was like, well, so I don't know about you guys, but I'm getting this and kind of get things together, thinking about hitting that RV life and escaping some of this mask madness. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I looked at these guys. Yeah, you heard the same. Yeah, and they were just like, not with it. Okay, so again, it's just, and I was driving home, and I'm like, man, it is here. Like I can't escape it. There's nowhere to go.
Yeah, I remember listening to you talking about the RV life, and it sounds amazing. And that's like, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't even know how far we can go with that if they lock down the states.
Like if they're like here in Rainbow Unicorn Land. All the borders are now patrolled. Like you can't go through the borders of the provinces. Wow. Now there was never anything. Like you're going from say Quebec to Ontario, you'd see a big sign saying "Welcome to Ontario." That's all. But now you're going to go through checkpoints, right?
Dude, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And so, like, I think in the future with the COVID pass and the quantum dot tattoos and everything they want to implement, the facial recognition, they're going to make it so that you're only allowed to travel, and also with the global warming, because they're infusing the massive climate change scam into this whole thing. And they're saying in many, like they keep trying to say, oh, it's because of climate change that COVID happened and stuff like that. But they've destroyed pretty much the travel industry, right? The airline industry, the travel industry, the cruise line, all that's done. The restaurant industry is collapsing everywhere across the world. The bar industry is collapsing. I mean, like all these industries are collapsing because they just can't. There's no way you can't have a bar or a restaurant and have like 1/4 of the amount of people.
Social distancing, right? And everyone miserable wearing a freaking mask.
Yeah, and plexiglass on the counters and stuff like that.
Yeah, now they're talking about. I don't know who it was that put this out there. I saw this story a few days ago. In more than one place. Now I'm seeing a narrative develop where, hey, maybe masks aren't enough. Maybe it's time for face shields.
I put that up on my channel.
Oh, did you?
Said,
okay.
So I did a video where I said, you don't like wearing masks? Guess what's next? And it's face shields along with goggles and mask and gloves, and then what could be next after that? Hazmat suits. But they are actually saying, Fauci said it, Burke said it. So these are the people that are in charge of the operation in the United States, and they said it elsewhere, obviously Australia and Canada, but they said that masks aren't enough, and masks are the minimal of what we need, and we're going to need. There's one of the things they've been putting out, and people can research this right now if you want to, is goggles. Like they're saying we need eye protection because the virus can spread through the orifices, through your eyes and stuff like that. So you're going to have those covered up soon. And the face shields now, which they're implementing everywhere. You see it in your stores, right? You see now the cashiers don't just have a mask, but they also have a face shield more often than not. And along with the plexiglass and all that. So they're normalizing all these things. They are like, it's this again, I say it, it's like the most common thing I say. It's the most evil plot in the history of humanity. I am blown away by how evil this thing is and what they're doing to humanity through it, and how they're dehumanizing us. Like, look, we know about the transhuman. You cover it a lot. I cover it a lot. The future types of human beings. We know that they want to vastly depopulate the planet, and they want to alter us, right? And this in the beast image sort of thing, blending the sexes, blurring the lines.
Androgyny is a part of the new species.
Well, look what they're doing with the women. Okay, so what's one of the things that's going around? Alyssa Milano, who is a wretched creature from the deepest pits of hell.
Indeed.
And she is like, I've covered her many times over my career doing this, because she's always being used for these things. And she was showing clumps of her hair coming up because, of course, she has the Kobe, right? This is total nonsense. Mm-hmm. And while they're doing this, and they've done this in many different examples, they're using Canadian celebrities around the world, pulling their hair out, showing clumps of hair on their Instagram and stuff like that. Oh, it's making me lose my hair. They're also pushing, and they did push, shave your head for BLM. They've been pushing for over decades now. You could even go back to the 60s, right? But for decades, they've been getting women to shave their heads and adopt a more male sort of
androgynous.
Yeah, androgynous. And recently, yes, we've had with the BLM, women shaving their head for BLM. We had all the there's a whole bunch of celebrities like Rose McGowan and so many others that shave their heads. Britney Spears did it, not to, well, that was like a decade ago, but maybe that's incidental or coincidental. But there's been a huge amount of celebrity women that have been shaving their heads. If you look at the mainstream people, like the transgender androgynous hosts like Rachel Madcow, for instance, so many of them. Up here we have a very similar equivalent. We have Wendy Mesley. We have these whatever they are. I mean, I don't know if Rachel Madcow is actually a woman or a man or transgender or whatever, right? But they have that androgynous appearance and their very short hair. And this, again, you look into the movies and you look into the idea of shaving your head, because what they're pushing is that your hair can contain the COVID, right? And so, like in a lot of movies and a lot of very dystopic films, that head shaving thing is a very common theme. And so now with the women that are losing their head, you're going to have more and more women shaving their heads, which again, you've seen this, I'm sure, THX 1138.
Oh yeah, I even put a clip of it in my movie, and I was going to add this as you're talking about this. There's a video from the Smashing Pumpkins. It's supposed to be a vision of the future, and every man and woman in it is androgynous with their heads shaved and all kind of wearing the same clothes. And
so many of the films, books, and movies, and even television shows, you could say Walking Dead, a lot of the women in that have shaved their heads, right? Or like the Carol character and stuff like that,
become more butch, whatever.
And it's all, again, like they're dehumanizing us. They're taking the beautiful essence of women, because women are like, women don't need makeup or any of this crap. Women are just beautiful, right? I mean, there's nothing in the world, in my humble opinion, more beautiful than a woman's body, right? Like, it's just the curves and the beautiful sort of nature of women. They are trying to get rid of that, and they're trying to redefine what women are. And you think about recently, Sports Illustrated had a transgender as its cover model, right?
Yep. And did you see the last one they had on there?
No.
It was an obese woman that must have been probably 350 pounds, which again, it's like, not to be the judge in all this, but I mean, it's unhealthy is what it is. That's the thing.
Tess Holliday.
Oh yeah.
Tess Holliday, right? So she's like 560 pounds or 600 pounds, and she's like the cover of Cosmopolitan. And it's like, she's supposed to be beautiful. And I'm like, yeah, I've done videos on her. And like, if you look at her when she was, before she became this giant marshmallow, she's an attractive woman. Like, her face is attractive. But the reality is that she has like almost daily plastic surgery on her face. Wow. So that if you just look at her face, she looks like a slightly overweight, sort of attractive woman, right? Yeah. But you look at the rest of her body, and she's gonna die like tomorrow.
Yeah, right.
Right? And it's like, this, of course, is very evil, because it makes women think you don't have to worry about your weight, and if you are worrying about your weight, it's because of everyone else and the body shaming and all this, and you're perfect the way you are. Well, no, you're not perfect the way you are. It's not good to be. It's not good to be overweight. I mean, being overweight is one thing, but being obese is deadly. It's actually a morbid condition, and it's definitely going to shorten your lifespan, and could, significantly shorten your lifespan. I mean, so like, pushing these things, again, it's all the beast, right? It's inverting everything. So like,
it's an inversion. Absolutely.
Like Planned Parenthood, right? Okay. So what do they protest for? Right? For, like, Planned Parenthood is the right to murder babies, basically, right? So what does Planned Parenthood mean? It should mean that you're planning to have a family, but it really means you're planning to kill babies.
Oh, great point. Yeah, absolutely.
It's an inverse. So when women are doing the women's marches, which is horrible toxic New World Order mind control. And they're marching with their ovaries as their symbol, and they have pussy hats and stuff like that. They're actually, they don't even realize it because they're so mind control, but they're actually marching for the right to murder babies. And they think that that somehow is tied to liberty, that, you know, my
Right.
choice, my body, when really, you know, there's no excuse in this, in the 20th century, for murdering babies. There's no excuse, KJ. I mean, with all the contraceptions and everything else, so many women out there can't get pregnant because of all the chemicals and toxins that the New World Order is putting into their systems.
Yeah.
Men, the male sperm count is down like 60% from what it was in the 80s, which is, you'll never hear about this in the Beast, right? Like, the Beast doesn't want people to know this, that they are actually massively depopulating us already, and they're making it so difficult for people to have babies. So the irony of thousands or hundreds of thousands or even millions and tens of millions or hundreds of millions of women marching around the world for the right to murder their babies, you know, when we have a precipitous drop in fertility and birth rates.
I was watching a movie the other night that was supposed to be a horror movie, but there was a scene where these two young people hooked up, and then the next day the girl gives the guy a bill. He's like, "What's this for?" And she's like, "My morning after pill." It's like, womp womp womp. You know? Yeah, it's
wow.
I know, and I'm just like shaking my head, like, man. And it actually had a good build up, and then they had to throw the hookup in and that dumb scene, and I'm like, I didn't even finish watching it. But just more of that conditioning and programming, and just in your just a random horror movie I chose to watch, you know. So
Yep, all women are being programmed against being mothers, just like all men are being programmed against being fathers. The whole women's liberation and equality is all a farce, because it was never about, like, the way, the, you know, the reason why women weren't in the workforce wasn't because men wanted to, you know, control the world and never wanted women to rise up. It was because women were mothers and they had babies, and you can't have a family. You can, like, in the old days, and I say prior to, say, 1960s kind of thing, right?
yeah,
Women would typically have to get pregnant many times. Like, you'd try to have as many babies as possible, right?
sure, because you need the workforce.
Yeah, but
Right,
you also prior to modern medicine, the infant mortality rate was much higher, right? So there was a much
Okay, yeah.
greater chance that you would have a stillborn or you would have a miscarriage and stuff like that. So you didn't need to have, you know, like, you'd think a family with 4 kids is a huge family now, but that would be a tiny family in the 1900s or the 1800s and stuff like that, where 13, 14 kids was much more normal, especially if you had the resources to support that type of thing. So much, obviously, is about depopulation, and you can't depopulate people if they live traditional lifestyles. So you have to deconstruct all the things that lead to traditional lifestyles. That's why Christianity, for instance, is one of the major things in the crosshairs, because they know that if you live and you go by the good book, and you multiply and you prosper, and you have family and all that stuff, then you're going to be, contributing to the population. And they want us to stop breeding completely. Like, they want us to associate breeding with all kinds of awful things. So, like, I remember years back, I did a story where I used to examine women's magazines covers, and I would show this how it works as mind control. And I say, you wouldn't even have to open up the magazine. You just look at all the titles on the magazine, right? For instance, and there was one with Adele, and Adele comes forth with her postpartum depression, and then they had Rocky Birth, and then they had all this sort of symbolism just in the titles alone, not even directly referencing the Adele, but other stories that contribute to, the child from hell, or, like a demon spawn type of thing, right? So that, and what I was explaining is that women's magazines are extremely evil. They're the beast, of course. And aside from promoting women to be selfish and to
very sexual too. There's always super sexual type titles on those.
Yeah, and again, when it comes to okay, so one thing that people have to understand this, right, is they thought long ago, like even like for instance, Kellogg's, right? Like people may not realize this, but cornflakes was made to stop people from masturbating, right? They actually, yeah, like you know, look that up. I mean, if you think I'm making up a tall tale, they actually made like the person that made cornflakes made it so that people would stop masturbating. They thought that food was one of those things that excites people, and it is. It's true, right? Like a lot of foods are aphrodisiacs and stuff like that. So they were trying to make the most bland food that they could possibly make to lower the stimulation within people.
Oh,
So like
interesting.
yeah, yeah. So like for hundreds of years, and certainly since the beginning of the 20th century, like the early 1900s, and you go back to the 1850s and stuff like that, the elites of the world have always been obsessed with eugenics and depopulation. This is nobody should everyone should realize this, right? And they realized a long time ago that we're not going to be able to stop people from having sexual urges. It's just because the strongest thing in the universe is the impulse to breed, right? Like there's nothing stronger. It drives every single living organism on the planet, whether it's your trees, your plants, your animals, right? And the herds of caribou or grizzly bears or you know beetles, you know Goliath beetles battling each other to get to the female.
Yeah.
It's the same theme everywhere. That's why men are horny and you know want to bang women all the time, and you know, and women have their cycles and stuff like that. The thing is that urge is way too strong, so they know, oh, we can't like we could try to toxify it. We could try to do all these things, but instead, let's not try to lessen people's sexual desires. Let's do the opposite. Let's increase them, but let's entirely change what sex is.
Yeah, totally perverted.
Yeah, because like sex is really sexual reproduction. It's just an abbreviation for sexual reproduction. That's what
Yep.
sex is. But how many people think of it that way these days?
Oh, not at all, man. It's all over the culture. You know, it's crazy.
Right. So they have, over the past 100 years, redefined what sexual reproduction is. Sex means something different than what it's supposed to mean. So that the kids now, they don't even think of it as sexual reproduction. They think of it as empowering or their own personal gratification. Whereas it always had a consequence in the past, right? Because you make babies. That's why you know you never had, or it was frowned upon having premarital sex, because the complications that would arise from that are too big. I mean, if you have a kid that doesn't have a family, doesn't you know have a future, sort of thing, or you know all those things. So right or wrong, sort of, right? I'm not judging the past, sort of thing,
Hmm.
but for good reasons, right? The premarital sex was frowned upon, things like that, because of sexual reproduction being the reality, the outcome of sex being babies, basically. And so the New World Order knew that they can't stop people from being sexual, so they did the opposite. They said, we're going to sexualize the children, and we're going to push masturbation. We're going to push sex toys like crazy. This is a huge thing that they push to normalize everyone.
Well, you probably saw that doll. I'm sure that everyone talked about it this past week. That
Mm,
troll doll. That would,
100%.
goodness gracious, man. I mean, if ever, I haven't seen a manifestation that obvious
Yeah,
with the sickness in the world ever. You know, if you
it's
go ahead and tell the people if they don't know.
yeah. So yeah, you have trolls. It's Hasbro. You can look up who runs Hasbro. I think you'll see familiar people. Hasbro. That's all you can say, right?
Yeah, pretty
Ha-
much.
yeah, Hasbro came out with the trolls. Now, trolls I've covered before. All Disney, all of it's evil. Star Wars, it's all evil. It's all run by the same people. It's all the beast system. All right, so clear out your kids' toys. Do your kids a favor. Um, and I say this all the time. Go to get a if you have a little girl, go to a doll craftsman, get a real doll made, something that they'll cherish forever.
Yeah,
Um,
there you go.
Never buy Barbie or any of that crap because it's all the beast, right? And educate them how evil that stuff is. But yeah, they Hasbro released this Trolls doll, and it's a feminist character, right? And it showed that girl power and all that stuff is how they program the kids from
Hmm.
the early age. And it had a sensor on the crotch, right? Like right where the privates are, basically. And if you push that sensor, and they don't advertise it on the box or anything, right? the ooh, 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 it
Yeah,
makes
it's
these
so
noises. It's
obvious.
so obvious, right? Like there's nobody with a straight face that come in and tell you, oh, that's not sexual. Oh, that's, but they did. They tried. Rolling Stone and many others came out.
Hey,
And
calm down, people. Nothing to see here. That's so sick. Well,
oh no, no, they said even worse. They said, oh, how QAnon, like this is Rolling Stone magazine. So there's E.J. Dixon,
oh gosh.
Dickson, E.J.
Yeah.
Dixon, who subsequently banned myself and Really Graceful, or blocked us and all that, because we were exposing it, right?
Oh, good.
And they put out this article saying this is how conspiracy theorists, QAnon and Pizzagate created this crazy
Hmm.
conspiracy and actually got a doll pulled from the stores, a sweet innocent child's doll.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's your sickness right there. And of course they have to use the QAnon. You saw what they did where there was like 24 hours within one of those 24-hour news cycles. Every channel was running stories on QAnon, and they're crazy and it's a conspiracy theory, and Twitter banned a bunch of the accounts. Did you ever cover any of that when that happened?
Well, I do touch on it, sort of thing, but I do believe QAnon is part of their controlled system. But
Yeah, I mean, I've mentioned that as well. I was never into the thing. I never followed it. However, as with most things, I might find 40% of really solid, good
yeah,
information out of there, and then the
yeah,
rest is just like kind of malarkey or trust the plan,
yeah,
TikTok,
yeah.
and stuff like that.
Grace said it well, because she said, people ask me all the time my opinion of QAnon, and the way I see it, they want us to trust the government. It's
Yeah,
like, yeah,
yeah.
okay, whatever.
Trust the plan, and
Yeah,
that's great. Like be
yeah,
inactive, and that's an issue too. It's why a lot of times I always say during these shows that you know I pray that everybody prays and looks for a way that they can fight back, whatever that means for you. You may be
yeah,
a single parent, or you may have a lot to deal with, or elderly, young, whatever. But you can have a way to fight. I believe God will lead you and show you a way that you can somehow fight back. It doesn't have to be violent or crazy or Alex Jones style. Hey, going crazy.
yeah.
But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree. And again, at the end of the day, look, um, there's no question that they're trying to sexualize the kids. I don't think anybody here would disagree with that, right? I mean, it's so obvious in everything that you see, and like for instance, when it comes to the LGBTP. Okay, so like here in Canada, for instance, they release sex guides in our school system, which encourage kids to get into anal sex, to get into scatology, uh, water sports. I'm trying to be diplomatic, KJ. I
I
think you
think
know what I mean.
go ahead. Yeah, and I think I remember
um,
some of this. Go ahead.
fisting, um, taking crystal meth and other drugs to
Wow.
explore sexuality. These were guides that were given out in the province of Alberta to 11-year-olds. And in 2013, the Dyke Premier of Ontario, who's since been removed or deposed, Kathleen Wynne, had implemented this horrible, horrific New World Order curriculum here in Canada, in which 6-year-olds were told that they can change their gender, right? 8-year-olds were introduced to homosexuality. 11-year-olds were given graphic depictions on how to conduct anal sex. So most of these kids at those ages, you're even prior to puberty, right? In many cases.
Wow.
Um,
Well, did you know back in 2018, there was a primary school, it was somewhere in England, and it was making children as young as 6 years old write love letters, and they were inserting themselves into a homosexual fairy tale
yeah,
with, right? And I mean, just that came to mind. So, yeah.
yeah. So, and again, a lot of this you could bring up Brave New World and stuff like that, right? Where these types of methods were used to create the different case system that they were going to use under this sort of feudalistic, dystopic sort of world that they're trying to create. But yeah, they use sex as a weapon to control people, and they use it as, like, for instance, look at the LGBTQXYZ. I mean, you got people identifying as their sexuality or as their gender, right? Which is so silly,
Or
right?
whatever they want. They had that Twitch moderator that identified as a deer who was also a
Yeah,
transgender, right? And
yeah.
and had threatened to go after white supremacists on Twitch, and then saying everybody's a white supremacist. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Trans
go ahead.
species.
Mm-hmm.
Right, they have people, and then ageism, where they have people that are like say a 45-year-old man identifying as a 5-year-old girl, for instance, stuff like
Oh
that.
yeah,
There's
yeah,
no end to it,
or a
right?
dog. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
all
yeah,
over the
like
place.
dog people.
Yeah.
Right, people that choose to live life as a
and,
dog, and they
and,
want to be walked. And
and it really is sad. That's the thing. I mean, it's sometimes it's easy to laugh at, sometimes, when we do, but it also just goes to show you how damaged these human beings are by this system, and somebody needs to reach inside that brain somehow, and, wake some of these people up. But
well,
these are
yeah,
some of the most damaged and programmed people ever. When you see these, I just had a story, I think last week, about the human Ken doll. You may have heard about that guy. Has all the surgeries, looks like the Ken
yeah.
doll.
Oh my God, yeah.
Now he's turned into a very curvy woman that's like, it looks like Kim Kardashian. Okay, I mean, all right. So, but we see this, and again, it just goes to show you, what causes that damage. Really,
The beast.
right. And will these people ever realize it, or most of them wind up taking their lives? That seems
Well,
to
a
happen
lot of
quite a bit
them
to some of these.
are just characters playing their roles. I would suspect with that Ken doll guy that it's just just some depraved
Right.
creature that they got to, okay, now you're going to do this or whatever.
Oh, right.
And a lot of that, I mean, it's like the BBC using transgenders to explain science to people and stuff like that. Like I even got censored for exposing that years back, and stuff like that. It's just, they're inverting everything, right? And the slogan, science is real, Black Lives Matter, love is love, all this stuff. It's
Yep.
just everywhere. Like the
And
beast.
that's
Sorry,
what
go
it
ahead.
is. No, it's okay. That's what this. You know what? That's what the system is. That's what it's going to be. That's going to be the New World Order religion, and Christians aren't going to abide by this. That'll be the big dividing issue, and homosexuality is going to be the line in the sand, I believe. Right? Because with the New World Order religion, hey, it's all love. It's whatever you want to do, even with kids. It's all good. And then the Christians will be like, no, we're not with that. I believe that's going to be one of the major dividing lines. But that's why we're seeing this manifest so much more. And as I told you, I see it in my neighborhood. I see it when I go to the store. I see it in young people all around. It's happening. Do you feel me when for
Oh
the
yeah.
last few years, I talk about the dividing we see in humanity? We're
Yeah.
really seeing people take sides, whether they realize it or not. And a lot of it's different levels of programming.
Well, you can divert people, like, and this is what happens. It's like, students, like, okay, for instance, Greta, right? Creature.
Yes.
She reminds me of Gollum.
Yeah. I've seen those memes.
Yeah. So, like, for example, okay, so what they're doing to the youth, everything they're doing to the youth is evil. So I have nothing but sympathy for the youth, but at the same time, they're being used as an instrument of destruction.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
the youth get the New World Order Agenda 21 curriculum, right? So, they're being told and programmed that the elder generations have destroyed the world through their selfishness, their white privilege, and everything else, right? And that they have no future, because look at how expensive it is to have a home. Look at how expensive it is to own a car and all these things, and how difficult this is going to be for you. So they have strategically created this with the student loans and everything else. They've all using money, right? Using the money system, the financial sort of system, to break the whole game and set up the situation that they set up. And so they've raised a whole generation of kids. And with Yuri Bezmenov, of course, says it only takes one generation to completely deconstruct a country, right? And that's exactly what's going on right now.
Oh yeah.
So,
In fact, even on that, I've called them Obama's children in a way, kind of this young generation of Anfarda and some of the BL plus M. A lot of them were raised because Obama. There were so many crazy changes to our school curriculum under Obama. You guys can look this up. But that's where you started hearing more and more about Common Core.
Yep.
And now we're seeing the fruits of that. They planted the seeds in this past generation of kids under Obama, the last 10 years, the last decade of kids. And now we're seeing it manifest out in the streets. That's the way I read that.
Exactly. So, if you reach kids, first of all, you eliminate parents from the equation. So there's no mentoring happening with most of the kids. So it's different for the people in the club, right? In the club, you get the best mentors, the best schooling, right? The you know, the Bushes, the Carries, the Al Gores, and all these characters that come up in the club, right? They have a different world that they live in, right? They don't practice any of this stuff. They learn the trivium. They learn how to use critical thought. They know the importance of family. They know the importance of, you know, of just life, right? And how to behave and stuff like that. Everyone else is got a completely different system. So this whole universal sort of Agenda 21 schooling system, which is like leave no child behind, which is just like, let's make sure that every single child gets the exact same type of hideous New World Order programming around the world. So you bring up a whole generation and you make the economic situation so bad that, you know, for a lot of kids getting out of school, that you paint this picture for them. It's like, look at what the elder generations have done, the okay boomers, right? They have made everything so expensive through their greed, through their privilege, through everything, and now you have no real future, and they've destroyed the planet at the same time, and it's up to you kids. Now you're the heroes. All the hero symbolism that they use endlessly, the superhero shows, the New Mutants, the X-Men, all these things are about the generation of kids that they're bringing up, right? To convince them that they're the superheroes.
Yep.
That
Well,
somehow,
you know, Marvel had just released 2 new superheroes, no joke, called Safe Space and Snowflake, and they're
no
both
way.
and they're both trans characters, and they're brand new
Oh,
Marvel superheroes. So it's there, like we're
that's
not even waiting for it. It's
yeah.
here.
So again, too, people might not know this, but the X-Men has always been about that. The X-Men, well, they I think the original 1950s X-Men was probably just more old-fashioned, but when they rebooted in the 1970s, it was all about the LGBT, and all the movies are about the LGBT. In fact, there's a scene in the second film in which they equate the mutants coming out to their parents. It's a coming out scene. It's a
Yep, I remember
homosexual
that.
scene, right? And the director of the X-Men was Bryan Singer, and he's been known to have, you know, sexually abused minors and stuff like that, and had sexual relationships with young boys.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
and
he's a
then of
bad
course
boy.
Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart make out all the time. Ian McKellen is an open homosexual. You know, like most of these people are not good people, right? And so the whole conditioning of the youth, this is why, like, everyone needs to realize this. It's not just the movies, it's not just the television shows, it's not just the cartoons, it's not just the comic books, it's not just the video games. It's everything that kids are exposed to is part of this beast. This is why it's like, this is why I say it starts with the toys. And there's no better example than the Trolls doll. I mean, it's like they're putting sexual, you know, molestation style you know, buttons on
Well,
dolls. Yeah.
let me ask you this then. There have been a record amount of busts over the last year all around the world. A lot of these rings involving the kids and stuff specifically. That's been great news. And again, it's really off the charts. Y'all can look it up. But the last year or so, maybe even beyond a year, there's been a lot of these busts taking place. So I don't know if you ever cover anything like that, but I mean, I just like to throw that out there for the people, just so you know, there is good news. You know, Jeff and I think, you know, we're both, I think we're intensely drawn into the wicked mechanisms of this world, and it's good. And I live with it. Jeff lives with it, and it's what we focus on. But, you know, just wanted to pop that out there for a second. Do you have any thoughts on that, though? I think that's a
Yeah.
really great thing. What are your thoughts on all these busts and kind of the good news that's happening as far as the kids?
I would say the worst job in the history of the world would be a detective doing that work.
Oh,
That's what
yeah.
I would say, because
Yeah.
I can't even imagine. I can't even like, you're gonna have to look at that stuff. You know, so, you know, yeah. Look, the whole there's the whole child trafficking thing, which is a huge part of QAnon, and it's pushed Pizzagate and all that stuff, and that's all part of an operation. And yeah, it happens. And are all the elites pedophiles? Probably not. I imagine a bunch of them are, obviously. The Epstein Island stuff too. There's a lot of shady business. I don't believe Epstein's dead. I believe he's on a beach in Tel Aviv type of thing, right? I think it's all
Yeah.
part of controlled system. But nonetheless, you don't have to, like, okay, that what you just said is like, there's been a lot of bust, and that's good that people are being busted. It's good that work's being done. Unfortunately, that's got to be the worst work in the history of the world, in my opinion. That's the last job on earth I would ever do.
Yeah.
But yet, people are doing it. I'm sure some of these people must be good people. It must be really difficult to do that type of work. How emotional and traumatizing it would be to have to even witness any of that. I can't even begin to think about it. But
here's a question: if you had to choose between that job or being Susan Wojcicki's personal assistant.
Well, I got a big bag of carrots, man. Just feed her carrots all day, and she'll be okay.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
But okay, so
go ahead.
Yeah, like that's good that there's bus having it and all that. But the reality is this, okay? Let's put aside the whole child trafficking rings and all that side for a second. Let's just say that the elites that run this world are absolute psychos, and there's nothing I wouldn't put past them. But the thing is this: all you have to do is look at what is in your kids' movies, what's in your kids' toys, what's in your kids' books, what's in your children's libraries, what's in your video games, what's in their cartoons and television shows, to see that it's everywhere. And that the real solution for all of us is to immediately take our kids away from all of that and protect our kids and educate our kids about the beast and what the beast is doing to all the kids, and start to connect with like-minded people. And like, if you've got friends that got kids, you can do this together, and you can say, look, Star Wars, watch the oldest Star Wars, kids. That's okay. Watch the original Star Wars. Don't watch any of the other stuff, because it's all part of the beast, and educate them on that. Kids are smart. They'll pick this stuff up, and they'll be able to pick it out themselves, and they'll be able to realize, and you can explain to them, look, they don't want us to breed. They don't want us to function. They don't want us to have communities. They don't want us to stand up to what they're doing. They want to control all of us. This is what they, as you said, the best thing or the best way to explain everything that's happening, whether it be all the sexualized dolls and the LGBT and all this, but really, if you just look at the scamdemic itself, it's all about control. All of it. It's about control. It's tyranny. It's them. It's a small group of psychopathic scumbags who have controlled this earth for way too long, and they are terrified about the world learning the truth about what they're doing, and they want to stop us. They want to stop people from this, and they want to watch us all. They want to have us all controlled, and they want to depopulate us, and they want us to be slaves, and most of us, they just want us to die, basically, in my opinion, right? And they hate your children. They don't love your children. They hate your children. They want your children messed up like a bad accident, and that's why they push homosexuality and lesbianism and feminism and all these things, even the climate change, on your kids, because they want to take your kids away. You think about what's going on. Dude, when I was like a kid, when I was like Greta's age, are you kidding me?
I mean, know,
like,
right?
I was having so much fun. I was with so many people, chasing so many girls. I was doing what my hormones were telling me to do, what we're all supposed to do. When I see the kids going out and going to the beach and partying, not wearing the mask, I'm like, good for you. Good for you. This is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to live. You're only young once. You're going to let these psychos destroy your youth. What are you going to think back? Because I covered it today, and everybody needs to know this. Like Melbourne, and they're saying this everywhere. They're saying up here in Rainbow Unicorn Land, Fauci and Birx are saying as well, is that this is going to go on for years. That wearing masks is not going away. Masks are here to stay, is what they're saying. They're saying they're here to stay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. That man, that's one of the hardest things to try to get across to people, because I hear it so many times, just again through acquaintances. But when this clears up, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, and and I have to stop myself sometimes, because I don't want to be Debbie Downer all the time. You know what I mean? But I don't want to have to be the one to say, "Look, man, this ain't going away. Humanity's being led into captivity." Yeah. And most people are willingly going into it.
They're not only they're helping it on. They're partaking in this totalitarianism. They're
Yes.
becoming the stormtroopers of this new world order.
Oh yeah.
They're,
See something, say something. They're
yeah,
neighbors against neighbors. I mean,
snitches get rewards.
snitches get rewards. Man, really is. I mean, this is biblical skill, folks. There's scripture that goes along with this as well. That neighbor against neighbor, family against friend, and this and that. Basically everybody turning against each other, and that's what's happening. Even Trump himself was a real big divisive figure. This thing comes in levels, of course, right? It comes in waves. And I remember all these news stories coming out around the holidays the last few years, how all these families are dividing and there's fights in the news all over Trump, all over politics,
Yep. Yep.
So, yeah, it's
so much of that is just the beast orchestrations, right?
Yeah.
It's like, why are you angry? Why are you angry, like, say, at people that support Trump? I mean, why are you angry about who's running this whole show? Why aren't you focused on the psychos, the big Harma, the Bill
Yeah.
Gates, all these people that are trying to destroy our world, our lives, our children, our communities, our friendship, our intimacy, our daily our just the bare necessities of
our
life.
humanity. Yeah,
Yeah,
they're stripping us of our humanity, and robots now I just put a story out recently, and robots they're trying to create synthetic skin for these things so they can feel you can feel them, and they'll react to your touch. You see what I'm saying? Like
Yes.
they're literally turning robots into humans and humans into robots and
While they're
mechanisms. Yeah.
forbidding us from touching each other.
Right. Yeah.
I'm putting up articles they're putting up articles every single day saying you should wear a mask when you have sex.
Oh yeah, I've seen a few of those.
Come
Yeah,
on!
yeah.
Do you know how insane that is?
Absolutely. It's bonkers. It's
insane.
off the charts.
It's off the charts. It's so evil.
And that's just a regular Wednesday in the news,
And
nowadays.
you think about, like, and again, like, just think about your youth. Like, like, could you imagine, like, whether you're in nursery school or in elementary school or you're in high school, and think about how awful all of this is and how it totally interrupts your development. Everything that you're supposed to experience, the camaraderie, your buddies, your friends, your girlfriends, dancing with the cute girl that makes your heart race at the school dance, things like that, doing the slow dance and stuff, all those wonderful things that make you feel so alive and give you all that vitality and that will and that thrill to live is all being ripped away from you. And how damaging this will be for these kids coming up now. They'll never have those experiences. It's so evil, KJ. I mean, when I see, like, honestly, sometimes I come close to crying when I see what they're doing to the kids, like the schools and the mask and the social distancing and the six kids in the classroom.
Have you seen those clips from some of the schools that have opened up and how terrifying it is? It's really something out of a dystopian movie. And then I'm sitting here thinking, well, maybe when these kids get out of this horrible, quote, school situation, looks more like they're in a hospital. Once you get out of this, maybe they can go watch a good ball game with their dad.
Yeah, that's it.
turns out that's not happening.
No.
And then those look dystopian. Actually, the new ball games with all the cardboard cutouts. It's like, again, this is like a perfect manifestation of that spirit that's trying to wipe out humanity.
It's a dehumanization, a deconstruction of what we are. It's destroying our relationships, our communities. Look at okay. Who are you going to know? I mean, like, years, KJ. Could you imagine years of mask
I could
wearing?
not.
Now you don't know who anybody is because you can't see anybody.
And you're not in school. You're not meeting new people.
You're not going to be able to recognize people. Like, you're not going to see people grow up or change. You're not going to be able to, and you can't develop bonds or trust when you got 6 feet between you. That's why I say, like, the whole thing about when you shake somebody's hand, right? It's such an important thing, especially with men, right? Like, that's a real male, because here in Quebec, the French greeting for women, if you're a male or you're a female, it's a double kiss, right, on either cheek, sort of thing. It's very warm. But with men, it's that firm handshake, right? And you look in the eyes, and that is so essential. They know what makes us tick, and they know how to destroy us. And that's what they're doing. They're taking away all these things that give us strength, give us community, give us family and relationships, and all the things that are so necessary just to be alive. You think about it. Think of any other species, any species out there. Think about dogs. Think about squirrels. Think about dolphins. Could you imagine if you tried to implement what they're doing to humanity to any other species?
Wow, no, absolutely not. But I'll tell you, I would pay $1 to see a dolphin wearing a mask.
Yes, you ever seen how dolphins socialize? Like dolphins, they'll have pods of thousands, where they'll swim together and they'll all have group sex and whatever. I mean, the dolphins are a bit weird like that, but they are constantly rubbing up against each other. That's how they're happy. That's how they function. And like, you bring your dog to the park. Could you imagine if you're like, your dog's not allowed to sniff any other dog, or it has to stay, how psychologically damaging that would be to the dog? And then you think about birds, and I watch birds a lot, right? And like, they're just amazing. They're beautiful.
I put up a little bird thing, feeder on my porch a while back. So yeah, I love that. I like spying on them through the window,
And like, if no other species would ever do this, then how could it be good for humanity? How could it be natural? Elephants, for instance, there's so many great, I mean, the YouTube throws these videos at me all the time because they know I'm a sucker for animal videos. But elephants, right? Like there's like one I'm just thinking of where there's a new elephant or a little baby elephant that's brought into the herd for the first time, and all the elephants come running, top speed. They're all running and they all rub with their trunks all over welcoming the new baby elephant, and it's so sweet and all that. And you think, and I showed this too, there's a guy I think he's called the Lion Whisperer or something. Have you ever seen that guy?
No, but I have seen those kinds of videos. So I've seen people, maybe I've seen one before, but I know what you mean. Go ahead though.
Yeah. So the Lion Whisperer, this guy, I mean, he like, they treat him like he's a fellow lion sort of thing. Right.
Oh,
or
cool.
He does this with all the animals. He does it with like hyenas and stuff like that. And he'll get down and rub with them, and they'll rub up against them, and they'll lick him, and they'll be all over him and stuff. And he's saying things like, touch is so essential. It's so essential. It's like 75% of their happiness and their well-being comes from touch. Like everything about touch, and the trust, and the feeling, and the smell, and the pheromones, and the everything that comes out of it. And like all animals, you look at different ape species, or like you say gorillas, they groom each other, they help keep each other clean. They're always touching each other all the time. And look what they've done to us. Look what they're doing.
I know,
so man. Evil. You can't do this to humanity. This is tyranny. It's so awful. You're going to destroy children. They're going to grow up, and they're going to be Asperger, obsessive compulsive. You're going to have like 10 billion freaking Greta. Well, not 10 billion, but you know what I mean? Like a whole generation of Gretas. Like people that don't develop, right? That might be 17, 18 years old, haven't freaking gone through puberty for whatever toxic reasons, who are unable to socialize, who have umpteen different freaking disorders, but they're all superpowers because, right?
Oh, right. Yeah.
And it's, I'm telling you folks, I say it's the most evil thing I've ever seen. Like, if you understand how dangerous all of this behavior is for any species, it goes against everything that every living species on the planet, whether it's plant life or it's ocean life or it's insect life or animal life, every single species out there of life on this planet thrives on constant touch, and they're taking this away from us.
That's why my hope always is that the people that might listen to my show or your show, or just be awake, if you will, on these different levels, because of course there's different levels, but I believe those people are already taking action to make sure their children are around other kids and getting outside. They're aware of the danger, but unfortunately we're just such a small fraction of the numbers when it comes to humanity. Yeah. But again, we're fighting, we're trying. It's not just me and you, of course, it's everyone listening, and them sharing things, them telling their friends, them sharing things with us, than us talking about it. It's beautiful in that respect, man. I mean, we are fighting, we're trying. There's not a lot of us, feels like sometimes, but then again, like you say, and like we know, they fudge the numbers. They tell us lies in media, and they're censoring any evidence of numbers of us,
Yeah.
whether it be on an Alex Jones level or a David Icke, or I guess they got Max Egan not long ago, right? I think they got him.
He's on YouTube, but he's got one of his backup channels. But
Oh, okay,
he's
cool.
mostly, I think he's mostly on BitChute these days. But
Right. Well, but again, those were all different people that were telling truth. Maybe not perfect. Well, I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. But unfortunately, and I've talked about this before, that's the unfortunate side of that toxic troll culture, which a lot of that's manufactured as well. But as we saw these people disappear, there were people cheering it. I'd say, "Yay! He was a shill anyway. Get rid of him." And then it's the
yeah,
next. And
no censorship. But the only censorship I'm in favor of for is stuff that hurts kids, right?
yeah,
But anything else, forget about it, right? Like I don't care what people are putting up, and even if you're a complete shill, even like Alex Jones, for instance, I don't care. Like again, it's all part of their controlled sort of,
yeah,
uh, of the media and all that, and they use these characters to set the example and to turn people and have people have a knee jerk reaction towards any sort of conspiracies, but it's just evil. The censorship is everywhere, and we suffer from it. I mean, you think about, we put up videos. There's no way any of them's going to turn up in a search. That there's no
yeah.
chance.
Yeah,
You're good.
I had to get over that a long time ago here on YouTube, because I got spoiled there, man, for years. I used to get hundreds, thousands, millions of views. It was
Yeah,
crazy. The videos went big, but yeah, that's one of those things where I had to bite my pride over years, and we've seen that happen to everybody else, and some people just left. You know what I mean? And
I
I
took
couldn't
your
blame some of them.
advice. And you were saying, oh, I don't use any tags or anything. I'm like, no, I don't use any tags, anything. I'll never put COVID in anything.
No, none of that. Yeah,
Yeah, and even the way I do, like, people people that follow me for a long time would know this, that I have like changed a lot of my approach because of the censorship. I used to be more off the cuff, a lot more I had a lot more profanity and stuff like
bit
that.
more
And
unhinged at times, perhaps.
yeah, so maybe some of it for the better, right? But
Yeah,
nonetheless, I haven't altered one iota the way that my beliefs and the
right.
information that I try to present.
You had
Um,
to adapt, man. That's
you
it.
just have to adapt, but we
Yeah.
all do to a certain extent, right? But it is still it's an everyday struggle, and we're gonna have to, like I say to people, be the change you want to see. That's the best advice I can give. Because if you set the example, if you be that mentor, if you be that parent or that person that people will look up to, then you can plant a lot of seeds, right? And that's what
Yeah.
we're hopefully doing this. Building communities too of like-minded people is, like what we've got here on your show, and it's great. All these people coming together, and almost everyone getting along. Just because it's not that we're all part of a group think. It's more that we all are conscious of what is happening in this world, and
Mm-hmm.
and we're
Right.
we're coming from different places all over the world, but we're all suffering from the same beast,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And that's a beautiful thing, and we have to do our best to navigate these waters and continue to do this work,
Yep.
right?
That's
Regardless.
that's why I've got like I said, I'll mention it to everyone tomorrow, but I found a spot off YouTube I could be completely uncensored. They told me literally today. I was with somebody helping me set it up, and I'll explain all that later. But they were telling me that as long as I don't put videos up of me killing anybody or videos up of pornography, I'll be
Yeah,
fine.
great.
And right, but I'll explain all that stuff later. And that's just for the KJ What Happens shows. Like you already know, we
Yeah,
talked about that earlier. But I'm going to change subjects, man, a little bit.
absolutely.
There's something I did want to ask you about. What are your thoughts on, Bay Roots, and the
Oh
boom
yeah,
boom and all the other boom booms? Because
yeah.
one thing I was going to say real quick, I've been following a little bit, but I'm still trying to piece it together. But it wasn't just Lebanon. There's been tons of other boom booms all around recently,
Mhm.
and there were so many that if I'm I might be right, I might be wrong, but I think they actually spell out Lucifer. That's
Yeah,
something.
yeah. People are putting
Oh, have you seen that too?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. I've
cool.
seen that
Go
on
ahead.
Twitter. Yeah, so because it's saying Lebanon and United Arab Emirates and uh, maybe California or wherever. I mean, there's just been so many explosions. So, and that would not surprise me in the least. But I think there's been so many over the past month that
Yeah,
it'd be more than just Lucifer that they're
yeah. There's
maybe
way
they're
more
saying
than that.
Luciferianism, or something like that.
Maybe, or yeah,
But
but I know there was a series of just like maybe several within 24 hours. Am I wrong? I don't know.
yeah, there's been so many. It's uncanny. There's a huge one in Russia too. It's just wow. And yeah, also, did you catch the Brussels World Trade Center fire?
No, see, that's the thing. There's so, I mean, these are things I have bookmarked, which I would say for my show on Friday.
Yeah.
So I've heard of it, but tell me what happened.
Okay, so yeah, the World Trade Center in Brussels. So Brussels, if you don't know, is the EU headquarters, right? So it is the beast, right?
Oh, I
Like,
need to look that up then. There might
yeah,
be some symbolism.
you should look it up because there's a video showing, and they have the World Trade Center and say the future is here, is written on the windows, like a huge sign going across the entire, like one of the upper floors, while there's a huge fire going.
Okay, now I remember. I have seen that picture.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know what that all was.
That
Wow.
was the World Trade Center in Brussels, and that was just like last a few days ago, or like last week or something like
Okay,
that.
I got to look it up. Thanks.
Yeah, you'll be able to find that quickly. Maybe just use Twitter, put Brussels in a hashtag, and I'm pretty sure it'll come up pretty quickly. Or you could check my Twitter, Free Radio Revolu. I have it there. It's a little bit down, but you'd be able to find it. I'll send it to you too.
Okay, no worries.
But yeah, I did quite a bit of work into Beirut there, which is really awful. And it's just awful. I mean, it's and is it what they claim it is? Of course, I don't believe the official story.
Yeah.
I don't even the government there now is thinking that it's probably a bomb. So it looks like a nuke, a tactical nuke or something.
Yeah, it was
And
crazy.
yeah, and okay, so Kibano. Well, what are you gonna have? Okay, so think about what was hit. What was their massive grain silo? Right? Like that huge freaking silo building where the whole thing went off. That was where most of Beirut's grain is stored. And so, again, I'm not accusing anyone, okay? So I just want to make this clear to people in YouTube community. But Israel, one of their colonels came out just before this all happened. Like, I think it was like the day before, and he said, we're going to hit them. We're going to hit. And he mentioned specifically Lebanon was the first country he mentioned. He said, we're going to hit their food. We're going to hit their this. We're going to hit that, their infrastructure. And then boom, the next day that goes off. Again, I'm not accusing because I don't know, I mean, it's obviously there should be a huge investigation into this, and the real culprits should, and if it is just an accident, then that is still a possibility, I suppose. But I wasn't born yesterday. I don't believe it. I think, and again, Netanyahu pointing towards all these spots along the port of where the airport is in Beirut, which was about a kilometer, I think, south of where the bomb went off, but it's on the waterfront. He was pointing to different locations on the waterfront where there's Hezbollah was storing missiles. And they made it clear that it's if governments support these terrorist organizations, these governments will be severely punished. So, there's and then what happens out of it? Well, there's a regime change because the people are massively protesting. Also, Lebanon was in economic free fall. Their currency had collapsed, and their economy was tanking before even COVID happened, and COVID made it worse.
Do you know if any of this connects to Damascus?
Well, sure. I mean, it's all part. I would imagine a lot of it is all part of.
That's a hot spot to watch.
Yeah,
Damascus.
but all those countries, people always mention Wesley Clark and General Wesley Clark, and he mentioned the 7 countries, right? And Lebanon was one of those 7 countries. So, they want regime change. So Kibano, right? If the government now, the prime minister stepping down, and they're going to have elections, right? And who are they going to install there?
Well,
and what are
I'm sorry to cut you off. Just as I'm thinking of this, have you heard about what Macron did over there?
In Lebanon,
I believe
or
it was. I believe he went to the site recently, and when he went, the people were all saying, save us, save us. And I was wondering, just when I saw this clip the other day, and I'll put this all together later, probably in a video or something, but there's a lot of interesting symbolism with Macron I could get into. But
oh
anyway,
yeah, for sure.
he was there, and they were treating him like this godlike figure, begging him to save them. Maybe some of y'all can go look that clip up, make sure I'm correct on that. And it just gave me the chills when I was watching this, and I wondered if maybe somehow he could wind up saying, "Okay, I'll take over the country, and I'll take care of you and bring you peace and prosperity." Because in some ways, some may say it's an antichrist, but there's many antichrists. So perhaps he could maybe get into something like that. I don't know. This is just
Well,
stream of thought here.
yeah, I don't think there's any chance of Macron taking over the country, but I do think that it's a plea for help to the West. Like they're looking to, I guess, the NWO to come in, and they don't, maybe I'm sure a lot of these people don't understand, right? I mean, they probably understand a lot of what's happening in the Middle East, and they probably have very many different opinions depending on their political spectrum and who they have sympathy for and who they support about the West. So they might look to the West and say, well, the West is rich, so the West could come in, and France is one of the richest countries in Europe and one of the most influential. So France could come in and offer a lot of economic relief, as well as the rest of the world. Lebanon too. I mean, Beirut's a beautiful city. It's an absolute horrific thing to happen. You just have to imagine it happening in your own city, to
Yeah.
know. It doesn't matter what religion people are. This is just awful. A lot of people died, probably a lot more than they say,
Well,
because.
check this out, man. I actually pulled this up. I can't show it, I guess, because I'd have to open up a separate window or something. But anyway, this is from 3 days ago, from August 9th. Macron styles himself as Lebanon's savior, ready to reshape country's system and Western image.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
they look probably to incorporate Lebanon, like Turkey and others, into
Right. The one world.
European sort of, take it
Sure.
more away from the Middle East. And it's strategic, right? Because like Greater Israel is a huge part of everything that happens in that region, right? Because they definitely want to massively expand the borders of Israel. Also, oil in that part of the Mediterranean is a hugely contested thing. There's so much to it, really, geopolitics in that region. So I just think, okay, so all the other explosions, right? And then the fire and the future is here. Is it the beast just basically saying, we're never going to let up now. We're going to hit you over and over and over again. And I think that's more about what it is. And, like I had a lot of beast people popping up in the early days of the whole scamdemic, leaving pretty interesting messages on my videos and stuff saying, this is just the beginning. 2020 is going to be the worst year ever. You're going to see unimaginable things happen. We have all these things planned, basically, right?
And that was early 2020?
Yeah. And so, again, it could be just people
No,
trying to
I
get a
don't
rise
doubt
or
it.
whatever.
I mean, we've talked even behind the scenes about some of the creepy, trollish type things we've seen, right? So
Well, they're aware of us, right? So,
sure.
they're gonna, target channels like this, and maybe leave those type of things. But I don't look. First and foremost, do not despair. Do not give up hope. Do not believe that this is inevitable and that the beast will take over the world and we'll all be enslaved. Don't believe that, because you got to fight with every fiber against this, right? But at the same time, we're up against it, right? Like this is, I mean, like, okay, one comment that was left too is really interesting. And it's like, okay, we control the central banks, we control the oil industry, we control all the major corporations, we control Big Pharma, we control the internet giants, we control the food production, we control most of academia, and we control all this, and you have a YouTube channel. And it's like, good luck, right? So like that's the reality, though. The reality is the beast does control
Taunting,
most,
yeah.
and that they like to flaunt it, and they don't think there's anything that anybody can do to stop what they're going to do to us all. And we have to do our best. I can't emphasize this enough. You cannot just lay over and let this tyranny take root, because you already see how far it's gone. And if you're here and you're somewhere, because there's a lot of places, say in the United States and even in Canada, where there's smaller towns, and you're not, like, people are going around without masks and stuff like that. Take a close look at what's happening in Melbourne, Australia right now, and you oh my word, it is just mind-boggling how evil it is. Like they are like they want to they're going to implement a system where you're not allowed to leave your home basically without government permission, and you can't go more than 5 kilometers, and you're only allowed for essential travel. And it's already happening, folks. Like they want this for all of us, because it's all about control. In the end of the day, there's no question about it. It's all about control. It's a very small group of people that control this world, or most of it. And they want to control it forevermore. They don't want anything to ever threaten their control. And again, you could look, you look at, for instance, a good example would be the Project The New American Century, or even the Wolfowitz Doctrine. Because the Wolfowitz Doctrine, which, if people remember, which became the Bush Doctrine when it got leaked, right? The Wolfowitz Doctrine was, I think, leaked in the 90s or something like that. Mm-hmm. And Paul Wolfowitz, who it became the head of the International Monetary Fund after, but he was the Undersecretary of State to whoever, I guess he was a Kissinger at the time. I don't even know. I don't think it was Rumsfeld until a little bit later, but whoever, he was the Secretary of the state, and he wrote this doctrine, which became, and a lot of it was drafted at the RAND Corporation and also the Council on Foreign Relations, and it revealed the Project New American Century is another example. And this is older stuff. I mean, who knows what they got now, but they revealed their psychopathic behavior, and it set the table for 9/11, because they said basically in the Wolfowitz Doctrine that the United States will rule this world forevermore, and we will never allow anyone to ever challenge our power. And if we see anybody that starts to rise up and threaten our control, we will wipe them out. We will use preemptive. we will assassinate. We will take over. We will do whatever is necessary. It is extreme neocon sort of mentality of the war, the Pentagon and the think tanks, the military
industrial complex.
Yeah, exactly. And so, like, understanding that is crucial to understanding how geopolitics work. Like, if you think the United States is, again, it's, other nations have their own Wolfowitz Doctrine stuff. I'm sure Iran has one, Russia and whatever else, right? But the thing is that if you understand the mindset of the people that run the foreign policy of these nations and the militaries, you understand that there is no, like, peace is imaginary. It's about control. It's about complete and total control, and that's what they envision. So nothing surprises me, in other words, when I see what happens internationally. I think we'll always never get the truth. Like, no matter what happens, you're like Pearl Harbor, for example. Like, people think they know the truth about Pearl Harbor. Well, you get what the History Channel wants you, what Disney wants you to believe about Pearl Harbor. You don't get the truth about Pearl Harbor, right? You don't get the truth about, say, the Iraq War, the truth about the Vietnam War, the truth about any of these things. You get what they want you to believe in, so that you you have that paradigm that you live in, and you think, well, my governments actually are good, and they're the freedom fighters, and they believe in democracy. Right? So, but yeah, I think we're seeing the geopolitics, this global risk game rolling out. And yeah, I think there's a strong possibility of a massive world conflict, even a world war breaking out at some time. I think
that's in the programming. That's what I've been watching for. And also the Illuminati card game. I seriously use it as a reference to this very day. I went back to it not long ago. I was just like, oh yeah. So they have the financial, shift. They've got war, and then they have the UFO card.
Yeah,
oh, by the way,
that never stops giving.
Right. And by the way, did you ever see that Tucker Carlson clip. It was on one of his shows just about a week ago. He's the only one I saw talk about it on the news. I don't watch everything, but he talked about the Pentagon. Speaking of the Pentagon, actually said that they are now in control of an off-world vehicle that had other off-world tools inside of it.
Yeah.
And right, but again, nobody blinks an eye. I'm still kind of waiting for
Are
the
they, are
other
they
boot to
maybe
drop.
they're referring to like Russian sort of space.
I
Um,
don't know,
like
man.
it could be like a lunar rover or something like that, or maybe.
Well, they've been putting out a lot of stories again from the Pentagon about the Tic Tacs, and they're releasing all
Yep.
this information on UFOs. I think that's part of that setup towards the alien card.
Yeah,
Possibly,
that's a possibility. I don't like. I
possibly.
know people do bring up Project Bluebeam and stuff like that, and I don't see that
I know
as.
you're not with that. Yeah,
But
that's
there
cool.
is like every day I get videos coming in from around the world which show all these crazy things happening in the sky that really, and it's hard to know because with the ability to CGI and the deep fakes and everything else they can do now, they can literally make almost anything seem real. So it's hard to know. And again, too, we don't know about a lot of their tech that you're going to read Popular Science, you think the Pentagon's going to release their newest
Yeah,
crafts and stuff like that. No, not likely. And so like a lot of what we might be seeing, potentially they could do this. Like, and
some.
it has
But
been for instance, I don't know if you ever read Ursula K. Le Guin, but there's a book she wrote, and she's a big time New World Order propagandist sort of thing. But she wrote a book called The Lathe of Heaven, right, where there was a guy that had the power that his dreams would become reality. And so he went to a doctor, and the doctor kind of took him under his wing, and he's like, dream about peace, dream about no poverty. And so he dreamed these things.
oh, that's that law of attraction too. New agey stuff. Go ahead.
Yeah, he would dream these things, but there would always be massive consequences. So, like for instance, the doctor said we got to dream about no racism. So when he woke from his dream, everybody was gray in the world, like nobody had color anymore, and so there was like there's no difference, there's no color to humanity. Everybody's bland, everyone's the same. It's pretty awful actually.
Yeah.
And for instance, when he says dream about a world united, he dreamt about aliens invading because that's the only thing that stopped all of humanity from fighting each other.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I think of that sometimes when people like you mention the alien agenda and the possibility of alien, because there is a lot of space stuff going on these days. There's a lot.
And a lot of that does come from the so-called ascended masters as well. That we
Yeah.
are going to be visited by Pleiadians or these Nordic types or whatever, and heavenly type, angelic type beings. And then of course there's the Maitreya, which is a whole other story. I mean, I'm with you on that. I love the UFOs, so-called UFO stuff, and I have my beliefs and theories because there are ways you can differentiate some from the others. I agree. There are a lot of hoaxes and crap out there too. And there's
Yeah.
drones and there's, you know what I mean? So
Satellites. You seen the
satellites.
Elon Musk satellites, the SpaceX stuff? It's like,
Well, see,
whoa.
I think that's part of it. 'Cause I've shown some
Mm.
videos where even when they launched over Los Angeles a while back, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, remember it was a joke because they said later, he never warned anybody on purpose. And you saw all these videos on YouTube of people freaking out. Like, what is this in
Yeah,
Los Angeles,
exactly.
right? So that's a
Yeah.
part of that as well, I think, kind of preparing the public. And also this mask thing, like I said earlier, we're in cuckoo world, and it really does put everybody in the state of mind of like, wow, anything can happen now. I really am in the upside down and just almost prepared for anything. I
Well,
told you some
yeah,
of the things I'm looking for is New York, with the
yeah,
bang bang, and
flooding
then
and all that.
maybe the
Yeah,
UFO stuff. Anyway, go ahead.
yeah. The again too. Why would the Pentagon all of a sudden start to release the UFO footage? Right? Like, is it a distraction?
Could be
Is it
too.
like
Could be.
like?
Well, if it was going to be a distraction, it should be getting more play. You know what I mean?
Well, it
That's what
did
I
get
would
quite a
think.
bit because,
Did it?
all the Beast media covered it, and it was like,
Okay,
again, it
gotcha.
was
Got
like maybe a week worth of material, and then it just
that's a
fizzled out.
lot. That's a
Yeah,
lot
it
for
is
a
a lot.
24-hour
So
news cycle.
and it could have been like, oh, we're doing this, so let's distract everybody. And I remember at the time I was covering something pretty big that was going on that I felt maybe they were deflecting from. I think that there's only like, come on, the Pentagon, right? I mean, if they're going to release
Mhm.
something all of a sudden, there's a reason for it. It's not like, and it's probably strategic, and it's probably dealing with, okay, maybe this is a good time to put this out because we don't want people paying attention to what we're doing. With the other hand, right? Again, I love the idea of aliens, right? And I think it's great to speculate on this stuff. I don't really get into it because so much of it, there's a lot of bad information. There's a lot of fake videos. I mean, even
And-
the, like, you think about, like, a lot of the early alien or UFO videos, a lot of them were just like literally freaking frisbees that they threw up in the air and they video.
well,
Yeah, the
and
Roswell stuff too, I found looks really fake, like
oh yeah, a lot of
I-
it. And honestly, and on that note, that's one thing I've always been good with you about, and really anybody else, is that we do have our differences and we don't, battle about it or anything. And I think
yeah,
that's good because we have to be true to what we need to explore. And you're so good at everything you do, and I try my best at everything I do, and we all have our different missions, and that's totally respectable. That's why I'm never one to try to twist anybody's arm like you have to believe what I see.
it doesn't hurt to talk about this stuff either. It's you can, because there are a lot of people that would have a lot of knowledge on this, and then you would be able to say, okay, well, now I see some stuff that makes me think. I mean, my mind is totally open. I don't
Yeah.
close my mind, but I do, like, as a one man show for the most part, other
Mhm.
than doing shows like this, um, there's only so much you can cover, and then it's like, trying to spread yourself too far. You just then all of a sudden you're not really good at anything because you're trying to do too much, sort of thing. So I kind of like, okay, I'll leave the alien stuff to other guys. I'm not gonna, but maybe someday along the future, my interest will be piqued and I'll
maybe,
start to dig into it.
maybe you'll have an encounter someday.
Yeah.
Hey, man, I was going to say, so we've done a good 2.5 hours. Are you still doing okay?
Yeah, I'm great.
Then I was going to say, is there any other kind of subjects that you wanted to particularly cover tonight? Also, man, I'm seriously, we'll have to talk after this, but we always say, oh, we'll do it again soon, and then it's like a month later. Well, you know how I am. But man, since I'm about to move my KJ's What Happened off of YouTube, maybe we can really start a regular thing. I don't know, maybe Thursday nights, or we'll talk
Yeah, that would
and
be
figure it
great.
out. Okay,
Yeah.
but anyway, so yeah, any subjects that you're kind of hot on that you wanted to talk about?
Well, it just mostly I've been focused on the totalitarianism of this scamdemic, and that so much of my energy, because it's such a global thing and it's affected every single one of us, and so that's really, I did cover the doll, obviously, right? And some of
Yeah.
these things you gotta cover, or I mean, I think are just so in your face that they deserve that type of coverage. But yeah, I've been, I get interesting, seeing how they're doing the sports, right? With, I mean, you mentioned that before with the virtual, and people are being able to pay for their own sort of cardboard cutout to be put in the
Yeah,
stands.
I want to make a short music video about that'll be one of my new music videos. Is how creepy the stadiums have become. Even you saw that one where they're putting Tom Hanks' voice
Yeah.
in a stadium, handing out hot dogs. I mean, come on, man,
Yeah, it's so crazy because
weird.
it shows you too that, maybe they're at that point where it's like, okay, we don't need people anymore. I think they're almost at that point now
That's what
where
I
it's,
think, man. And yeah, and there's a lot of theories on what that's going to look like. Some people, some Christian belief is perhaps the harpazo or a catching away. Then there's a whole idea of these people. We obviously, most of us know they're eugenics.
yeah,
They're eugenicists. Sorry, and they're all about a depopulation. They even told us in the New World Order 10 Commandments, the Georgia Guidestones, right?
yeah,
Maintain humanity under. So, and it's all part of it. And I've shown this for years. There's a music video that Blondie did with Joan Jett where they show the agenda for everything to blow up. They had an American Horror Story whole season where the Satanists had caused a nuclear war, and they were the only ones living underground, and they were bringing the Antichrist up to rule the world. I mean, all this stuff's
yeah.
already been out there. I've been seeing it for you. I should do an updated one because it's been a while since I've covered that, but because the programming's back. But I've been seeing it forever. So yeah,
One thing I,
it's
I would mention maybe that is it's all connected, of course, is the food and what they're doing to the foods and the plant-based so-called plant-based, KFC and everything else, that they're changing all our foods, right? So part of the dehumanization process is to deprive us of the essential nutrients that we get from plants and animals. And the bio sort of tech takeover of our food industry is full on. It's all so, and a lot of people don't know this, but a lot of the foods that you get in your grocery store, you might want to look. If I mean, like, a lot of people think that they'll read the ingredients and that'll be the story, but that's not at all the story. In fact, a lot of it is being concealed, what they're doing to our foods. And I really do believe that they are prepping us, like, just like, for instance, like, I did a video, I talked about this the other day because I was covering a lot of the movies and showing the predictive programming, but like, the movie Snowpiercer.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen it in a long time, but I really liked it.
Yeah, you see where the peasants are getting fed bug
Oh, it's
bars, right?
totally, yeah. It's the caste. Is it called the caste system?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Go
And,
ahead.
and so there is a Snowpiercer bug bar that you can buy now.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Wow.
you can look it up, man. You'll find it right away. It's Snowpiercer. It's made from crickets or whatever. And it's just an example, just like Soylent, right? Like Soylent Green. You can buy Soylent Green, like they actually have it. And if you look at the controversy behind Soylent Green, or Soylent, the product, which is out of place in Israel, and it's a meal supplement. So, like, okay, you just think of this, folks. The Soylent comes from the movie Soylent Green, which is all about, taking the elderly and processing them into food for the masses, right? In a global warming sort of economic, or climate change dystopic future, right, sort of thing. And it's one of those books that turns into a movie instantly, Charlton Heston and all that,
Mhm.
right? But the thing is that there's, like, the fact that you can buy Soylent meal, like, it's a meal supplement, and it's highly toxic. It's actually, it attacks your reproductive system and your liver and everything else. And, like, this has all been proven, but yet it's on the store shelves. And the fact that you can buy bug bars that are named Snowpiercer just show you how evil the beast is. That
Yeah, man, that
they show you
programming.
this. Yeah, they show you this stuff. It's like Black Mirror and stuff. They show you this stuff, but it's not about, we better be on guard for that. It's more like, here, we're going to show you, so that when we actually release it, you'll be like, oh, okay, Yeah.
And then you subliminally are like, I really am living in a movie. I mean, that's
Yeah.
kind of that, and it
Yeah,
happened,
yeah,
and
yeah,
it's
yeah.
just one example, and it happens constantly in waves of it. Yeah,
Yeah.
Black
So
Mirror is a good example of that.
that, yeah, everything is being changed. Every element of our and they know. That's why I say, like, the foods, like the touch and the feeling and all that of human interaction, are essential to our well-being, right? Like, there's a reason why we eat eggs and, chickens and, you know alfalfa and broccoli and stuff like that, because that's the food of the earth, right? That's what we've cultivated and grown and used, and it's all part of what makes us human. And they are, what they're doing with the biotech takeover of the whole food, and I cover this with Camille all the time. We do a show on Jesse Alive. It's really great. They are taking all that food, and they're going to change all of it. They're going to eliminate meats from our diet, eliminate eggs, eliminate milk. So instead of milk, now you're going to get cockroach milk. Like, all of this is changing.
Man, I want to add something real quick now that I'm just quickly thinking
Yeah,
about
yeah.
this. Several months back, I drove to California. I'd visited some friends, came back, went through Colorado on the way back to the Midwest. Kind of did a weird kind of drove up and came down. But I went to a truck stop there, and I've mentioned this in one show several months back. Went to a truck stop there. They always have the candies or whatever sitting at the counter you can pick up last minute.
Mhm.
Well, instead they had this box, and they're literally just called Crick with a hyphen and Ets. And they had three different flavors, and they were little boxes and with a plastic see-through cover there where you could see inside the box. And
Mhm.
it was just all these dried up crickets, and they had salt and vinegar was the flavor that sounded best to me. I didn't eat them, but I said, hey, I guess I'll take this. This is cute. And the lady behind the counter was like a almost 70-year-old lady with purple streak in her hair,
Oh my
and
gosh.
yeah, and she goes, that ain't cute. That's your future. Yeah, seriously.
She's right.
I know. And
Uh,
I was like, oh, yeah, right. And I instantly thought, it's okay. I get what I'm talking to here. Yeah, sure. Right. So And then I just walked out, but the lady was dead serious, and I didn't want to get in a conversation with her. But yeah, just one of those brainwashed masses. She's ahead of the curve. Maybe she's a witch or something. I mean, I'm not trying to be funny. That I wouldn't be surprised, because they all have that same hive mind and all push these same ideas. Everyone from the Pope to these witches' covens, or Mother Earth and Gaia and all this other
Yeah.
stuff, right? So
Yeah. It's a complete transformation that's happening. So that's why I say everything, it's a good thing for people to invest in. Um, you know, um, you want to get whole foods and stuff like that, non-perishables, but also books, right? It's very important to keep books, records, and things that they're gonna wipe out. Like we talked about this a lot, like Fahrenheit 451. It's all real. Like the Amazon Fire and Amazon Kindle there's a reason why they're called that, because they literally are going to burn all the books of the past, and they're going to rewrite everything.
well, don't you think it's also interesting how all these billionaires are seem to be bugging out? A lot of them are switching over their businesses. Bill Gates left Microsoft now so he can fully focus on the VAXX. And Bezos has been dumping a lot and moving around. But you hear all these stories about a lot of these billionaires, a lot of these big people running these big corporations are disappearing and dipping out over the last year or so. So I think that's interesting too. Perhaps they see what's.
Well, they're all making record profits too, because they know exactly what's coming. So it's so evil. These people have so much power. I mean, Bill Gates, I'd say he's the most evil person in the world, without a doubt, right now.
Yeah, and he loves it though, man. He just loves it.
Oh yeah, he loves
his interviews. He's just grinning ear to ear, giggling. Him and his wife, and they're giggling about the VAXXs.
He's a psycho.
Yeah,
he's a psychopath. There's no question in my mind that he's a psychopath.
You saw where she wore the upside down cross, right, on that news show.
Yeah,
it's like, come on, lady. Hey, man, let me do this, because I probably need to get off here probably about within the next 20 minutes or so.
Sure.
It's always great though, like I said, man. We're going to seriously talk about doing more regular. Do you want to maybe take a few questions from the chat?
Yeah, I'd love that. Yeah, absolutely.
Cool, guys. Hey, we'll answer a few of these. All I ask is just, write the word question first, and then just pose your question, and Jeff and I will see if we can answer it for you. So we'll give them a little bit, because we're kind of ahead of them here. Yeah. And we'll see them start coming in. But man, yeah, thanks again. It was great. It's always good talking to you, man. And yeah, we'll have to do it like once a week. I think that, especially for what's happening now, it's crazy. And what I'll do is I'll have my mass news show, but then maybe you can do it too. Collect maybe 4 stories or so that really stand out. You can get 4, and we'll just kind of once a week.
Be really cool.
You think that'd be cool?
Absolutely, man.
Okay, good. All right, man. Let's see here. I think I see. Will's not here, says question. How are you guys? I'm doing great. Jeff, how are you?
I'm good.
He's good. Blue says question. I was late. Did Jeff bang the table?
I'm in a stand-up setup, so I don't have a table.
He's in a stand-up setup.
Yeah.
Here's Jay Wiggins. Where do we find you off YouTube? Off YouTube. That was from Jay Wiggins. All of my links, most of them are down below under the player. I also have a link to Jeff Censored's channel, and I think he has all his links there. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah. I'm on BitChute, New World Agenda, Twitter at Free Radio Revolu. But yeah, the easiest way to find that would be to go to my channel and then click on one of the vids. And usually in all the vids, I do put my links below, so in the description, and you should be able to find all that. So cool. That'd be the easiest way. Yeah.
This is from Stanley Woodward. He says, can prayer be powerful against the beast system? And then my answer would be, because I think about this stuff all the time, is that, of course, prayer is great for everything. It's your connection to the Lord. And when you really have the Holy Spirit, and, you can see him work in your life. Most of you know what I'm talking about. You can see it. Prayer is real. Prayer really works. Maybe not the way you expect it, but you got to have that hope. You got to have that connection and that faith. However, we're also dealing with prophecy. That's why I tell you, I never try to say this is going to happen here or there. And I live my life day by day, and I find my joy and peace. That's important first and foremost. That being said, I realize we're in prophetic times, the way I see it. And I know that, destruction has to come. So That's the bad news for some people. For some of us, it's good news because we know what happens after this system collapses.
Mm.
Still doesn't mean that we don't fight, we don't pray, we don't try. You never give up. I don't know, Jeff, you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I pray every night. So, I mean, for sure. I mean, come on. If you believe in God, you have to, use that channel as much as possible, and
Yeah.
do the best that you can. So, yeah, I fully believe in prayer. Absolutely.
Thanks, Jeff. Here's one from Prisoner of Hope says, why are you so upset about people being called Karen?
Oh, I'm
So
not.
you can answer
Yeah,
that.
I'm not really
I'm not
upset.
either. Yeah, we're not upset. It's just it's a psyop.
Yeah,
Jeff, if you want to
it's mine. We did explain it though. It's the beast, and that's how they they make it so that you have a knee jerk reaction that they want you to have to everything. So like it's like, so if you see a middle aged woman, a white woman who's angry, you're going to immediately dismiss her as a Karen. So it's a way of mind control. That's why. And it's actually really bad because you should never just immediately stereotype somebody. And if you were to do that to other races and colors, you would be deemed racist right away. So it's highly hypocritical at the same time.
Yeah, good answer, man. Here's one from Joshua Adam. Do you believe in serpents or a reptilian race? Um, I'll speak from my side. I've actually done a video called, I think it was called Mystery of the Lizard Men or Lizard People, and it's a music video. It's over on my website. I think it's on my Instagram too, but I only put videos up there. And I've done videos where I've talked about a lot of the real things that have been found that show that there's some kind of a history ever since the beginning of these, looks like serpentine type beings. You can find it in China. They have the serpent people, there'd be a snake with a human face, and all over the place, man. It's been there. So yeah, maybe that's the what is the seed of Cain, perhaps, the serpent seed. uh, I don't know. I don't. That's such a tough one. Even like with the people with the slits in the eyes, Jeff. I know you don't get into some of this woo woo too far out there, which is fine. Okay, I do, and I know that stuff can be faked and things, but I've covered.
I would
this
say
stuff.
2 words, man.
What?
Gretchen Whitmer.
Yeah, Gretchen Whitmer.
If anybody's a lizard, that person there.
There you go. Yeah, I'm with it. I think it's a complex subject, and I think it's interesting. But yeah, there's been sightings of these lizard people. There's all over the world. There's even a famous one from Georgia in America where this thing terrorized a small town for a few nights and clawed people's cars up with its. I mean, just into the metal, crazy stuff, man. So, yeah, I'm with it. I don't totally understand it. Jeff, anything else on that?
No.
You're good.
I would just say, yeah, I wouldn't know, and I wouldn't discount it. I would just say that these people are, at the very least, reptilian in their behavior.
Yeah, good one. Yeah. I remember Obama went on that talk show and said, we all have that reptilian side of our brain. That was a famous one. This is from... this is one that everyone always asks you this, and it's okay. I'm still going to do it. It's Elahen27 for Jeff C. Are you a Christian?
Yeah, I'd say. I mean, I don't really, I don't go to church or anything like that. But if I had to choose a religion, like, because I don't like think of myself. I'm very spiritual, and I totally believe in God. I don't adhere to any particular religion, but if I had to choose one and all that, I would definitely choose Christianity without a doubt. So,
that's fair answer. All right, thanks. And let's see, this is from Alan Dempsey. What's your view on the prawn industry and making people weak of the flesh with constant stimulation? So Jeff gets into, you really answered it right there, Alan, for me. And I've done some videos on that as well. And it's, that's one of the toughest things to break. If you want to call it a spirit, you want to call it a habit. It's one of the really toughest things ever. And it's really grown in popularity ever since the worldwide lockdown. Surprise, surprise. There's been this explosion, they say, in people watching that. There's also been an uptick in people reporting domestic abuse. So, we see, you're right, we see how this machine works. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, sorry, can you rephrase the question? I was reading the chat there for a second.
Oh, no, that's okay.
What was the question again?
It's all right. He says, "What is your view on the porn
Oh yeah, the
industry?"
porn. Okay,
Yep.
yeah, I get it. Yeah, it's the beast and it's a weapon. And it's used to. It's mostly deconstructing family and destroying family and destroying men and women. I've covered it so much, talked about it so much, like ever since I've been doing this, that it's really mostly targeting men, but it's a deconstruction, destroying relationships, and it's ultimately very evil, and it's something that KJ says, like people become addicted to, and it becomes habitual, and they know exactly how our brains work. It's very satanic in many ways as well, and it's evil so many ways because like the act of sex is so complicated, and has so many layers to it, and there's such a complicated ritual to it, or it should be at least. And with the porn, it's just pure on, pure sex, pure, just narcissistic, demonic sort of gratification, and there's no consequences or
Well,
anything of it, sort of thing. So
and on that note, man, I'll throw this one at you too. This is some of the edgy, crazy stuff from YouTube from way back when YouTube really was the Wild West. And if you search hard enough, y'all could probably find this. And most of it's edited well enough, okay? But it could still be triggering to people. But many, many years ago, a couple people on YouTube, don't even remember who they were, but they did really good work as far as finding this stuff. But they had done these compilation videos of porn actresses actually in porns, and they would just frame it on the girl's face and blur things out. And they did good on editing, but a compilation of all these girls and their eyes literally were that freaking slit, like
mm,
in the different videos from different decades and everything, different years at least. um Fascinating. Again, just throwing that out there, guys. Now I see that, I think Jezebel's spirit, and we get more into the kind of spiritual stuff or whatever I can get into. But anyway, there you go. I'm rambling. We do this sometimes. here's
it's all good, man.
here's from one from, and if I miss people, sorry. This is always kind of crazy because our chat goes super fast.
Mm.
Here's from O'Dunny man. He says, "How do we deal with the anxiety of it all, Jeff?"
Yeah, that's a great question, and I think I can give you a few suggestions. Exercise, nature, um, just music, art, things like that. Friends, family. You have to take time if you're feeling the stress from everything. You have to take time to enjoy the good things in life, and not forget that they can't stop that, and it's still all there. Like the beauty of nature, for instance, can be so therapeutic if you're feeling, just down and you just can't stand it. Get out in the woods, go out in nature, go for a kayak or a hike, or things like that, or listen to some great music, get yourself away from it, take yourself and detox, right? Because
Yeah,
it's
that's
it's really
great.
important. Yeah.
No, that's great. I mean, I'd be right there with it. I spend a lot of time in nature. I'm a hardcore introvert though, so I can spend a lot of time alone. But I do get out. I exercise every day or every morning. I get out in nature at least a few times a week. I've chilled on that a little bit 'cause it's super hot here, but in the next month it's going to be real nice. So, I get out in nature. I take long drives. I
Yeah.
live kind of on the edge of just nowhere, really, and I live in a small, big town. Really, it's grown over the years, but I'm off of small highway where I can just go into Nowheresville for hours. These little bitty towns in Oklahoma you never heard of, and I'll do that all the time. Listen to music, talk to God is what I do most of the time, and I'll get some of my new ideas for things I want to look into, videos or whatever, and
Yeah.
that helps me a lot. And then, of course, spending time with your family and friends. But even that's limited for me. But I always really enjoy the time when I'm with them. Some of my friends are having a Sunday. Every Sunday, they meet up at the pool. That's been really fun. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
it's a right group of people, and just in doses, whatever works, right?
Yeah.
And reading the Bible for some people helps. I go look at it time and time again, just for kind of get me through the day type little verses. I don't sit there and read the whole thing, but so I hope that helps, man. Um, okay, let's see. Here's Johnny Candelaria says, "How do we fight back?"
Well, we're doing it right now to a
Yeah,
certain extent, right?
exactly. Yeah, the best we can. And I don't know if people realize, not to toot our own horns, but the minor miracle of us being able to talk about this now. We're still around, and
Yeah.
it's really an amazing thing. I pray about it myself all the time for protection for the channel, but they've done everything else they can, which is fine. We're still here,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
good. So yeah, we're fighting right now, man. And this is the way Jeff and I fight. And uh, I made my movie. Like I said, I put it out in movie festivals. It's out in 3 now, so it's still growing, hopefully, and we'll get it in more. And that's the way I fight. I'm not doing that so I have a name for myself and I can have some worldly, whatever, because we know it's crazy times now. I don't even know how much I want to be connected with. If they invite me out, I don't know if it's a weird setup. I mean, I got to think about stuff like this, but still, I'm fighting. Jeff's fighting.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, I'll give a few suggestions too, because like maybe you don't have a YouTube channel or you don't want to do this type of work, because this is only part of what you can do. You can print up flyers. You can go to your city council and get up and speak when you get an opportunity, sort of thing. And I know a lot of people that do this stuff. You can write to your your ombudsman, your politicians, or whatever. It doesn't hurt. Um, and you could talk to kids in your neighborhood. You can, use graffiti, use all different methods. I mean, there's, sometimes you might do things that might technically not be legal, but could be very powerful ways of getting the message across. You have to be creative. Art is always good too. Humor is excellent. I think humor really works well to get messages across. And I just think, yeah, speak out where you can and stand up. And,
Yep.
Again, like say making a mask, for instance, you have to wear a mask, write a message on the mask. Right. Like I write
Yes.
things like "This is tyranny" on the mask, and then I walk into the store, and then everybody sees that, right? So
That's great.
it's just a way. Like, give it to. I say this to folks. I say, give it to them. If they're gonna make you do this, then really stick it to them, right? Like, make
Yeah.
a yeah. Okay, you're gonna make me do this. Okay, then I'm gonna do this, sort of thing.
Yeah. Useless
So.
mask. I
Yeah,
thought of
yeah,
writing that, useless mask.
yeah,
Yeah, that's a good way. And there's the whole thing where if you ever want to get engaged with it, I wouldn't recommend it, but Twitter and some of these other things where you can get in there and you can go after people when news comes out on them when they're involved in the system. Here's an example. Christy Teigen, I'd mentioned her last night, but I didn't know much about this lady, but she's apparently an actress or a model married to John Legend, who's a singer. Anyway, recently, about a week ago, people started digging through her tweets, and turns out she's one of these kitty creeps. I mean, tons of tweets about, getting all excited over watching toddlers and tiaras and stuff like this. And I'm just saying that's another thing you can get engaged in is, you know, put them on blast. Don't be hateful and putting cuss words, but just put these people on blast. Say, can you explain this, please? And stuff. If you want to really, again, I wouldn't recommend it. I don't have the time for that myself, but if you got time and you're bored and you feel like I want to say something and fight back and you find something gross like that, put them on blast. Put them on their Twitter or whatever it is. Are you with that, Jeff, or am I just being foolish here?
no, all different things. I mean,
Right? All
I
different
don't
things.
encourage people to be belligerent towards people, but I do think you can make a statement in a lot of ways. So, but yeah, sharing information too is great. Like people help me out all the time, just like you, KJ. I'm sure you get a lot of great info from your listeners,
Yeah.
and especially building shows and stuff. And I appreciate that. People send me stuff, and I include it in my shows, and just help get the message out. Share our work and like-minded channels that you think are very helpful. Use your social media because don't be afraid of censorship. Right? I
Yeah.
mean, nobody's been censored more than me, really, right?
Oh
So
yeah. Jeff's
you
got a
know.
history of it. It's true.
So don't be afraid. Speak up while you still can, because if you don't, then you'll lose that opportunity forever. So yeah.
Yeah. No, good one. Hey, we'll do a couple more here. Let me see. Here's one from Wide Awake when he says, question, or she says, how will we find like minded people when the stuff hits the fan? That's a great question. I'd mentioned that I've been kind of getting things. I got a rifle not long ago, and I've got some food preps, and I've got a plan for my parents, which is always my biggest concern towards something like this, because I know I've got tents and things. I could just go try to figure if it ever got that crazy, but I want to help my folks, want to be with them. So we have a place to be that's safe. It's out in the country and it's got water and there's hunting out there. And, so we've kind of got a plan. I would just try to get a plan together like that the best you can. I would definitely have, uh, get your weapon. This is what I believe. You may not be with that, and I won't argue with that, but I believe in that right, here in America. And I look at the times we're in. I'm saying just in case. I pray I never have to use it, but I would recommend that. Get some food preps. Make sure you got water. Maybe you got people nearby you can trust. Y'all can start building a plan together. Uh, have a safe place, man. Maybe you have one of your buddies has a grandparent that has a cabin somewhere or somewhere out by the lake or whatever it is. Maybe y'all can start really having a real world discussion, showing all these people what's happening in the world. Say, guys, look, this is when you put all this together. Here's what your news isn't showing you. This is what's happening. Okay, we may need to have a plan. Okay, just in case something happens. There's also all this talk of war. A lot of people in dreams and visions, if you will, and in predictive programming have seen America actually being attacked, it coming to our soil. I'm just saying there's things we have to think about. So be prepared in any way you can. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, I just say get to know them now. Don't wait.
Yeah.
Start connecting with people right now if you can. Don't wait till the you know till like the Gestapo's at your door.
Yeah.
Start making connections, start finding out people that that if things go bad, you can rely on. That's what they want to stop us from, so it's very important to do that.
Here's this is the last one here. It's almost 3 hours. So this is from 23 Michael B. What do you think about David Goldberg's notes that were found in his safe by his lawyer? He says between 2020 and 2024, the government is going to kill 10% of the population. I've never heard of that myself. Have you?
Yeah, I don't know if it's the same person that put out that they're gonna like start targeting all these people and they have this master plan. I think it sounds like the same one. And I don't know, because like you really you don't. It's hard to know sometimes what is disinfo or what is partial truth or whatnot. But
you gotta be careful.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to see it and hear it.
Me either. And like you say, it could be. Do you remember? It was about 6 months ago or so, maybe a year ago, But people were real hot online, especially YouTube, about this thing with the government where there's money the government had for you, and there's all these people were talking about there's a way you can get your money from the government. And do you remember all that stuff?
I don't think so.
Okay, well, that was one of those, I think, just kind of weird things that come around and get a lot of traction, and it didn't really seem to go anywhere. Maybe got some people in trouble. You never know. All right, guys. Hey, man, look, it's been 3 hours. Hate to be a baby, but it's time for me to go. I got to start settling in here and get a little dinner and get the cat set up and everything. But
Chubbs.
I got to get Chubb set up. But Jeff and I will be doing more of these, guys. And like I said, I'll be uploading something tomorrow. And so before we go, I'd like to say a quick prayer. Is that cool with you, Jeff?
Absolutely.
Thanks, man. I'll just say, Heavenly Father, thanks so much once again for these great people and for our great guest here, Jeff C., and friend Jeff C., to be here, and the fact we can discuss all these things happening in the world, and we can bring so many people around from all different parts of the world and different belief systems, all trying to understand what's happening. Of course, I have my perspective, Lord. I always pray that you touch each and every person's heart and mind that watch these shows and listen to these prayers, and guide them, Lord, towards you through Christ. That's my prayer. And just for the rest of us, Lord, please just keep us all in the right frame of mind, even when we talk about the crazy things in the world, always bringing it back to hope and faith. I believe in you, Lord, through your Son, through the sacrifice. And keep us all just in a good state of mind and calm during these days and able to take all of this in without fear. Thank you, and I love you. And in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right, guys. Hey, thank you, man. And guys, also to the moderators, thank you so much. Big shout out to my Patreon, PayPal supporters out there. I also have links underneath the player for other social media of mine and also sponsors. If you're interested in any food preps, there's a link. There's also a free Brave Bravo Bravo. Oh, it's Brave browser, and I would highly suggest it outside of Google. It's a DuckDuckGo, which is really good. There you go, man. That's it. There's my pitch. All right, look, love you guys, man. Thanks for being here. I'll be back soon over the next few days with more. Jeff C's link is below, and we'll talk to you later.
Awesome. Good night, everyone.
All right.